So testing the mic. Everybody who's watching in the recording, hello. Everyone who is okay, nobody has joined yet. Let's wait for some people to join. Today was a kind of chaotic day. I'm starting the stream 40 minutes later from the time that I projected because of some logistics that I need to take care of today, and then I felt like I needed to recollect and actually practice what I preach in order to uh, go back to the proper mental space. And today, actually, what I've experienced will be defining for the topic that we're going to cover in the beginning. And then, as it goes with live streams, we usually bring up the topic, and then people come and they start throwing their ideas around, and we go with the flow. So, high energy, establishing high energy for today's stream, setting up all of those intention for beautiful, vibrant live stream today. Hello, Kiva. Hello, good Sir Fry. Hello, guys. Sorry for being a little bit late today. I will fill you in about this in a second. But the energy is high. We are starting. So, Tantra Coach, Tantra Coach. Hello, Nicholas. I'm so in love with you. Thank you. Okay, no need to apologize. Thank you, guys. So, I've been taking care of something that has a lot of, hello Fruity Cutie, that has been a little bit crazy, and the more I do some organization, the more people join, come on board, some unexpected things come my way that require more work, that require more things to sort out. Today I received a call right after I agreed with some people about something. I received a call that kind of started threatening my plans altogether. So I was like, oh my god, what do I do? Went for a short trip just to leave home for a bit and to recollect. And then I came and I'm like, okay, my phone needs to be charged, so I have a stream, so I need to organize all of that. I've been patching it all together, but then most importantly, I felt like I needed to patch my mental state before I go and jump on the live stream today. So what happened and how all of my experiences tied to today's topic about the complaints? Because I was, as I told you, there was some like unexpected series of events that brought me to this different mental state. And then some people, some organization that I already had experiences with and that were not so ethical business before, but I rely on it. They came up to with this phone call and they informed me about something that they are unaware of, but then they started turning it into some weird marketing coercion, and like it was previously. So I go out and I decided that after that conversation, when I get upset with someone, I go and I complain to my parents about this situation. And I felt like the issue literally multiplied 100x from a problem that just requires my attention, just me sitting down and sorting things out and figuring them out, turned into a whole tsunami that literally affected how I felt about my life. That literally affected affected the world that I'm building, affected the perception of the world that I'm building, that I'm trying to maintain. And I noticed that I've been doing it pretty frequently when something happens, something that requires my attention, but I know that there are people who will find it relatable, who will vibe with that issue. And I go and share it with those people, and then I receive the adequate feedback because it comes in resonance with how they perceive the issue. And this resonance just suddenly multiplies that little thing that frustrated me in the first place. It multiplies it into the whole tsunami, and suddenly it becomes an overwhelming thing, and I feel like the whole surroundings, everybody's just perceiving me through this lens. Everybody just multiplies this, and it just starts feeling so overwhelming. And I noticed that too, every time I would bring the issue that's totally in my scope of control, that's totally can be just treated neutrally, that totally can be just regarded as, no, this is the process that requires algorithmic solution. Instead of that, if I pour emotions, and more so if I put other people, include other people who I know will have emotional response to that, that turns into absolute craziness. in my own mind. So that was something that I titled earlier because I was observing in other people as well, because I feel like it's my issue, and that's, remember, how we use people. I noticed that in other people in my surroundings as well, complaints, I defined them when I watched that. I defined that as scaring blessings away. Literally. And when we go and talk about something that is not necessarily something that those people can help you with, you just go and vent when there's no solution in the end, when you're just venting. You're just polluting the environment with that emotion. That's literally what I define as scaring blessings away. Because not only you're enhancing this process with your own emotions, you're also coming into resonance with other people. And moreover, you are turning it into into the way the people perceive you from this point onward. So you're also generating this verbal and emotional portrait that these people will be reflecting on you now. Because they know that this is something where we're connected. This is something where we are like intimately, emotionally knit. And then their perception will turn into you being defined through that. Because that also brings them high emotions. It's such a thing. So what I did to undo this, because it was just probably an hour ago, it was 4:40, when I came home, and I realized that the issue that I've encountered is literally just going to be solved. It's going to be solved. And if it's not going to be solved, then it's just destiny. I don't care. If it's destiny, that is to be. But I needed to just take steps to doing it, simply algorithmically. But I'm already in this cranked up state. Even right now, I still have some excitation, but also the element of that a little bit because I entered the live stream mode. My energy went sky high, but anxious sky high. So what I did as a Tantra practitioner, Tantra coach, to condense it all. I was like, okay, my phone anyways needs to charge, so I'll move the live stream a little bit forward. A little bit later, I was doing the following sequence of things. I know that when I have high electricity produced to some issue, I need to find some positive, some desired vision, some desired experience that I need to locate my attention to. So I started driving my attention about the exciting aspects of what I'm working on. Exciting aspects, why I'm doing it in the first place. Because when we run into some roadblocks on the way to what we want, and it gives a lot of frustration, this is when this neutrality leaves. And this is when, from our desired goal, we start focusing too much on the roadblock. That's never helping. That's never useful. And because we need clear mind to deal with that. So I realized that I need to go back to the bigger picture. I need to go back to the excitement factors, to what I'm contributing, why I'm working what I'm working on. So I started focusing on that. Then another thing that I did was some somatic work. I performed, first of all, I rubbed my eyes. I realized where I have a lot of tension right now, my eyebrows, my eyes, everything, my neck, everything. So I started just relaxing those areas. I rubbed them. I made sure that they're all not tense, that they're all like normal, back to normal. Then, while I was doing all that, I was thinking why I was affected by that, and I was creating my law. Because we talk about when there is frustration, when there is some scandal, when there is some conflict, when your personal frustration, this is when we need to finish it, we need to accomplish it through establishing a law. So I, for myself, made the declaration, because when we look, for example, at the issue from the outside, we're like, okay, this is not a good behavior. But then we go and do it anyway. In the moment when we go and do it anyway, we can amplify the pain, the hurt that this experience brings us, the discomfort. I brought it to my hyper-awareness, why I dislike the experience that I'm experiencing. When I complain, and now I feel like I'm dealing with whole tsunami that smears my perception of the world. So I started doing a revision. I started explaining it to myself that this behavior is bad, it's inappropriate because of these and these and these points. I feel now, I verbalize how I feel. I verbalize that I feel like I amplified something that is just a simple issue that requires algorithmic solution, hello Ben, and I amplified it through bringing it to other people. I brought all of those unnecessary emotions, and now it feels unbearable because what I want, I put juxtaposition there, because what I want is these and these experiences. This is the world that I live in. This is the world that I want to live in. So this is what I want. So I brought juxtaposition to this experience that I crafted, this emotionally negatively charged experience that muffles my perception of things. I turned it, I turned my attention, and I verbalized the opposite. What I actually wanted instead of that. So I verbalize that. I talk about it. I bring it to the same intensity through verbalizing it. Verbalizing is also a form of materialization. When we can hear it with our own ears what we're talking about, not just a thought, but we materialize it through words. So I brought it to my hyper-awareness. What did I actually want instead? And I make the law that from now on, and I told it to my partner as well, such that we're on the same page and we're supporting each other on this endeavor, that from now on, when there is some thing that triggers my emotions, I am taking a moment to just sit and express it only to myself, or remember about this pain, about this discomfort that I induced, because now it becomes a very vivid, very aware experience. I verbalize it to myself, I bring this hyper-awareness to it, and we help each other to not let this thing boil out of this pot. Or just turn the heat down. Instead of letting it boil, letting it pour everywhere, bring it to other people, make everyone charged with that emotion, and create all of this nonsense that propagates further. Then another thing that I thought about was that, another thing that I was thinking later, that on the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. Because I was giving this feedback, I was sharing these emotions with people who actually are accustomed to such things. So one part of it was to find also the element why it was good, what positive could be found in that reaction. So I talked about it and I thought about it that it's probably the way to actually connect with people, because for them it's a perhaps way, opportunity to feel needed. It's for them opportunity to participate in something, perhaps also get some spark of energy, even if it's through negative plane. So I also brought this to awareness, to my awareness, that I shouldn't just beat myself up for that and take responsibility for too much on top of what I already feel. That there could be some positive aspect to that, positive facet. That indeed people, we can get closer sometimes, or we can show others that they're needed when we bring some struggle to them. So that was something that I also added to this sorting out process. And then when I talked about all of these things, I clearly declared what I want instead of that, because sometimes we're like, I'm upset with this and this and this, and this doesn't go anywhere. When you ask a person what do you actually want, they're unable to say that. So it was very important for me to sort through everything that I was upset about, and then declare how I want to handle these situations in the future. I went and started doing body work, another session of body work, because first one was more emergency. It was like, hey, like run to your body, emergency. The next one was deeper. In the next round of body work, after all of this psychological sorting, I went and started dancing, and I also went and started doing some breathing exercises that put me back in my body. And also, what is to celebrate in this is that I identified vulnerability, and now I know how to fix it. I'm fixing my vulnerability. So this is how Tantra Coach sorts out problems. And another proof is that it's always working. It's always work in progress. It's always work in progress, but the advantage is that we have the tools. We know exactly what to do when these situations happen, because in the past, before I practiced these things, before I practiced this efficient way of handling things, I would be dragging that. I would be even unaware that I complained, and I now feel bad because I complained, because I involved a lot of people, include a lot of people in my thing. And I would just have this lingering anxiety until I would go and with this anxiety, I would propagate these experiences further. And then probably in the end of the day, or later, even the next day, I would wake up fully suppressed, then feeling that I did something bad, and then it led to nowhere. And now I would feel like everything is like so bad. I would not be able to focus on the positive, would not be able to focus on the goal, and it would just spiral into me being incredibly mentally fatigued. Instead, and now I have so much pumping energy. Okay, doesn't matter what exactly sparked the energy to go high. What's important is how we use it. So, that's our philosophy. We're growing flowers on peaches, and today I came to you with this lesson, with this practical illustration, experiential illustration of how it works, how I actually practice emergency Tantra tools, and also I want to reestablish this thing, this firm belief of mine, empirical belief based on so much disharmony, based on so much distress that I put myself through, and other people put themselves through that on a daily basis. When we have something that only us can solve, when we go and start bringing the emotional charge to the other people, amplifying it, and thinking that it somehow will aid in solving the problem. Even modern studies show that if we just vent but don't solve the problem, it trains our brain to become learned helplessness, to literally lose the idea, the concept that our mind is capable of solving problems. So that's what happens. Venting is super bullshit. Venting is such a pointless thing unless it has a solution in the end, unless we can functionalize energy. And modern scientific pursuits prove that as well. So let's declare that and open our live stream with the chat. Let me see. Hello from Iowa. Hello. It's refreshing hearing how you handle your own stress. Thank you, Chad. You saying mind over matter? Where did I say that? Mind over matter. No, I wasn't saying mind over matter. It's actually, in fact, matter is over mind in certain pursuits. Mind over matter matters when, it's never over. We always talk about entanglement. Your reality pushes you to think there are certain things. Then you can have certain adaptations or a rational understanding of things or desires, genetic desires, and you respond to the environment with your own thoughts, with your own ideas and actions. Reality responds. There's always some resistance, there's always some inertia, but they always work in entanglement. You can never separate the two. So there's never one over the other. It's always the junction. Also, there are people, in the vegan community, mind over matter. They're like, mind over matter, I'll just breathe, I'll breatharian. There are the documentaries about breatharians. They're like, mind over matter. They're breathing material, pretty material air, but because air is not a solid thing as food is, for example, they think that air is not material. So, but they don't think about it. It's just gaseous state of matter. But they think that mind over matter and that they can just talk themselves into them receiving nutrients from air. So they just go and this is the extreme example of mind over matter. And that's something that I will never say because humans are as material as conscious. We live in the adjunct, we live in the entanglement between mind and matter. So, I hope I haven't caused you any stress by my comments. No, Greg, no, don't worry about that. It's very cool to hear how you approach when you encounter these types of things in your own life. Thank you, Fruity Cutie. What helped also, by the way, that I had time constraint, that I had some a scheduled thing today. So, it actually pushed me to do it in a very condensed and efficient way. Because I was like, okay, I have 5 p.m. deadline. I can move it to some reasonable degree, but oh my God, I need to do something. So that's why it was really efficient way of approaching it. Sometimes, when we are programmed to have mindset that stress, dragging all those emotions is normal background of our life, when we think that it's normal to live in that framework, in that paradigm, we may think that this is life. This is what it should be. And we allow ourselves this liberty of just dragging the stress indefinitely because it validates our existence. I live on different terms. I live in different laws. I super enjoy my work, I super enjoy what I'm doing, and I'm driven by that. This is why, because I have this super strong alternative dominant, this dominant that stressed me out in the moment, this dominant was easily removed. I easily transferred energy from here to here, and now I'm having a blast. So, that's how it works, Fruity Cutie. That's another aspect of that. Marco Tech, New York, hello. Nice to see you. I think capitalizing with the word stress might cause my head some stress. Yes. Ah, this is a good topic, Kiva. Thank you. Yes, you know what you're doing. Keep doing it. Get her done. I love your handle. Thank you. Very true, Madam Kiva. Out in space. Message retracted. All messages. Let's remove moderation. Oh, it actually got retracted. Okay. Add the Q&A sticker. Karaoke go-to song. Oh my god. The stream thing. Offers me that. It's the power of all caps. Yeah, with words. Exactly. That's some style of communication for sure. So, I have some priority activity that I want, and I know that what energy exactly I want to bring to this thing. I know in what mental space I want to be. I know what I want to share with people. So on the one hand, yes, I messed up today. I did mess up. I didn't act in accordance to my principles, but only to learn the lesson, because this time around it's rare when I'm in these situations, frankly. And last time I was in this situation was months ago, probably. But today I end up in this situation, and I turned it into this lesson when it was so unpleasant, and that resonance that I felt was so unpleasant that I was able to actually work it through very efficiently. So from now on, my law is that I am not complaining, especially in the heat of emotions. That's another aspect of that. Does it mean that my discovery today, that I'm not venting, not complaining, does it mean that I will not go and seek help? Because in fact, as a result of my today's interactions with people, I did receive help. I did receive some assistance today. But it was done in non-hygienic fashion. Does it mean that I cannot ask for help anymore? I should be super self-reliant? No, the important distinction there is to not perhaps bring the heat of emotions to people, because that will prevent from accessing this neutrality that's necessary for solving problems, that's necessary for being algorithmic, for being rational, calculated. Calm when you actually see the full, my milk here suggested me the word, and I have milk horizon. That allows you to see the horizon of possibilities that you can pick options from, in which you are in this big super mall in which you see all the options on the shelves. And so this is just the emotional hygiene. Remember, we were talking, maybe we didn't. I probably talked about it with somebody else. But complaints, venting, and all of these things probably should be discussed as the family etiquette, as the in general close communication etiquette, that these sessions should be consensual. And when we know that they should be consensual, it gives us this pause to just not use our loved ones as the dump yard. It's actually something that is a new rule in my personal relationships as well, to try to solve your problem, emotional problem, on your own first. Before, and instead of bringing the problem that only you can solve, instead of just mindlessly bringing it into the field of relationships, because that creates sparks such interesting exchanges, such interesting roles in people. And yeah, on the one hand, you may get more connected, but people perceive your issue as something that they interpret themselves. So you're not only dealing, when you're bringing your emotions to people, you are not even amplifying something or solving something as you see it, you're also dealing with their interpretations of things. And you don't know how their psyche will respond to that. You don't know how they see you in this moment, necessarily. You can make some assumptions based on previous interactions, but you never know. Sometimes those conversations can spiral into discoveries that you didn't care to have necessarily. without them being of any need. Do you have social anxiety? I have some social anxiety, yes. Social anxiety, my form is that I have performative social anxiety. I do have that. Largely, I've been aware of that, and I tried working with that by relaxing myself, by removing this performative thing, by bringing myself to awareness that I am going to act like as if I'm at home. But sometimes, in some circumstances, still challenge me. I cannot say that I'm fully out of social anxiety, and I have the performative kind in which I feel like I need to be like this, very vigilant, very attentive, and very collected. And that puts me in a strange state of mind in which I lose kind of a little bit, actually lose sense of control, because I hyper control myself so much in society in those circumstances. And I can say that in all circumstances it definitely got better, but in those circumstances I control myself so much that, but control very specific aspects, that end up not being able to be flexible with that control, or to control other things that slip out of my attention. And that leads to clumsy situations in which, for example, I cannot eat neatly at the public place, at the restaurant, for example. So there would be some experiences like that. And I had some experiences from the past, from going to the conferences and participating in all those festivities afterwards. You know how to conference, there are usually celebrations when everybody goes to a bar, to a restaurant, and they all rejoice, have some more civil talk. And oh my God, I had somehow every time I would be in some crazy situations in that one, and even the world around me cooperates. Once I was sitting at the bar with people after the conference. We just went in a more close circle. We go to the bar and we're sitting at night. It was actually a NASA conference. And I am sitting there, everybody is chit-chatting. I'm just going in this meditation, because this social anxiety also causes this a little bit paralyzing effect. So after social gatherings, I may be so winded mentally that I would be in like this mental, a little bit paralyzed state, because of all this tension that I accumulate. And so I'm sitting, imagine, I look at my coworker, and in that moment, a bird poops on my nose. It was such a moment, oh my God. And it was such a climax of that day, and it was like the whole world corroborated and crafted this situation for me. And everybody's like, oh, what happened? Oops. At the same time, another facet of that is that I super love performing. I super love being on stage. So my social anxiety is a result of me engaging in non-linear interactions when there's a lot of chaos going on. When I'm on stage, I feel ecstasy. On stage, I feel totally comfortable. I feel totally at home. And that's when all eyes are on you. You know that it's a controllable environment. You know that you're on stage, so you're owning the crowd. And you have linear exchange of energy. Should I go into the crowd that is just chaotically moving like insects? That's a challenge for me, really, because there's a lot of nonlinear interactions, a lot of nonlinear energies traveling around me. People are bouncing, people are talking, and that puts me actually in this trance almost. I go into the trance. If I don't find one person to just have close conversation with, if I cannot magnetize to someone to just get my attention directed somewhere, just people put me in a trance. And actually, if you go on my website, when you go to my services, you will see the icons, the images for the services. And those drawings, those images, I drew them all in the coffee shops. So what I do, I use this trance sometimes for creativity. I would go to a coffee shop, buzzing coffee shop, and I would sit there with my sketchbook, and that would put me in such a state in which my neocortex turns off almost. So I would be in a half-aware state, And I would be able to create those totally subconscious drawings. So there's no like fear of it, of white canvas, blank canvas. There is no barrier, nothing. I just start making art in those conditions. And then when I snap out of that trance induced by this buzzing crowd around me, I further can revisit those drawings and I can actually create some concept of what was happening, what I was drawing there. So that's an interesting effect that I actually learned to use to my advantage at some point. So that's how it works for me, the social anxiety. On the one hand, yes, it causes this hyper control, hypertension, some like social paralysis, very awkward behavior. On the other hand, if I can at that moment channel it somewhere, I can start creating art in a total flow. You know how celebrities describe it, that some like extraterrestrial power just channels through them. They don't know what it is, but it just governs them at that point. That's how it feels to me. So I become this vessel, this conductor, because my controls are overloaded. Actually, in my work, I was working in solar cells, and I was making solar cells for space. And solar cells for space, they are sandwiched. So they're sandwiches of many materials. So in fact, there's not one solar cell. There are 3 solar cells stacked together. And to measure them separately, individually, to get their quantum efficiency, for example, to get their spectral properties, spectral response, you need to somehow turn the tool insensitive to 2 other cells. Like you have this stack of 3. To measure one, you need to somehow make 2 other cells invisible. So what we do, we overload them with one type of signal. We overload the measurement tool with steady signal from those cells. And then we measure this target cell with oscillating impulses. So this overload, in effect, has this effect that while my brain is overloaded, I cannot control certain things. So it sheds my barriers. It's not a healthy thing probably to do. Probably there are better ways to doing that instead of overwhelming your nervous system. But there are definitely things that also, by the way, interestingly, this overloading mechanism can shed light to some tantric principles as well. And when you receive notification from my website about the practices, there will be one practice that emulates that, but in a restful state, in a pleasant, healthy state for the mind. So you will see the practice that does that effect, performs that effect, but instead of overloading, you are in a good, restful mode. And in that state, you can access this removal of barriers effectively, and removal of extra controls that sometimes prevent us from enjoying things, experiencing things, and being in our authentic self, let's say. So let's see the chat. I have it pretty bad about social anxiety. I have social anxiety too, but I just force myself through whatever interaction I have to have. Geez, bird poop on the nose would be embarrassing. It was funny. I don't know, my coworkers are funny. I mean, we're just laughing about it, but it was, from my perspective, it was just after everything that I've gone through, after everything clumsy that I've done before then, it was just this, universe just put an exclamation mark to that day. So forcing myself through whatever interaction I have to have. Next time you are in this circumstance, try actually reflecting on what's happening, what exactly bothers you, and perhaps how you could turn it into some different reaction. Because the way we react, yes, sometimes we can just observe what happens, naming it to ourselves, and then seeing what are other options for interaction. So it can be a very interesting developmental point. Hopefully this doesn't sound weird, but your eyes are beautiful. Jareth, thank you so much. You're very delicate. It's a very delicate compliment, and I really appreciate how considerate you are. Thank you so much. I have paper anxiety, meaning money, I guess. Lil Jabari. Paper anxiety can be actually, paper anxiety can be blank canvas anxiety, starting new things, starting fresh. So, very paralyzing. I always try to get myself out of a conversation. And understandable. Does it happen with everybody? Does it happen in specific environments, in specific circumstances, with specific conversations? What exactly comes to your mind when you think about the representative experiences get her done? It would be interesting to see, because we tend to generalize sometimes, but sometimes we find that indeed there are actually totally comfortable environments. And then we can compare what differentiates a comfortable environment, comfortable conversation, from not comfortable conversation. Maybe in an uncomfortable conversation there's a hierarchical relationship. Maybe there is something going on in which we start feeling like we need to perform something, we need to do something that's not authentic to ourselves. Tell me about stage work at when what you're performing. I was performing. I was a dancer. I was in theater when I was in school. I was singing as well, and I actually love singing. I train pretty frequently. I train singing, and then it turned into, when I worked in academia, I was presenting at the conferences, which is also its own really cool experience. So, her again. Hey again, Mr. Smart Lady, postmaster head. The Mr. Smart Lady. Okay. Of course she's smart. She's German. No, I am not German. She's Russian, yes. Icing on the cake. Icing on my nose. Bird poop on the nose, just call it being one with nature in the moment. Yeah. Yeah. Said hi, Ruben. Hi. Hello, my name is Ben. We're today, Ruben, if you just joined, my name is Ben. Hello, I love you. Thank you so much, Ben. Really appreciate your feelings and your confession. So, Ruben, we're just talking about how I manage my own stress. I was giving an example, very fresh example from today's early afternoon. And then we started talking about social anxiety. So, it's the best excuse for the unexpected birth surprise. Yes. I'm going to cry now. Ben, why? Don't cry. Or maybe cry. I don't know. Emotional release is always welcome. But why are you crying, Ben? So, people, ask me questions. For everyone who is new, I'm a Tantra coach, Tantra therapist. We're talking about just anything in life. Today's topic is a little bit scattered, but revolving around stress management, emergency stress management, and also why nagging might not be a good idea, why venting may not be a good idea. Instead of venting, we are creating new laws, we are improving our life, we're using the uncomfortable situations as triggers for better life, for improvement of quality of life. So, let's see what the chat has to offer. How did you actually enlighten yourself and escape the vegan diet mindset? I mean, it was through my body, through my beauty, it was not vegan mindset, I was never about animals. I was doing it for health. And indeed, it was actually very helpful for me to ditch grains and go to raw foods. In the beginning, it was a mind-blowing effect. I was literally getting pharmaceutical grade benefits from raw vegan diet, high greens, high fat, raw vegan diet. And I never did it for animals. Animal food avoidance was more aesthetical to me than ethical. So I was feeding my dog raw meat all the time. So it was never like something that I was avoiding meat at all costs and being this like vegan hypocrite. No, I was doing it for health. And I started noticing that I got injured for doing a squat, being an acrobat. So I always did some acrobatics, I always did dancing. I never worried about stretching, I never worried about like pulling ligaments or anything like that. And then I performed a squat during my 3rd year of raw veganism, and I tore something in my leg, in my hip. And then I was like, okay, it will heal in a couple of weeks, but it never healed. So for several months I was carrying that thing, and then my face started all turning into something not native, something not what I was supposed to look like. And I was looking at my dad, for example, on the phone, on the video chat, and I'm like, this is not how my skin type should look, even compared to my dad. So I was looking in the mirror, and it was like getting me more and more depressed because I didn't like what I was seeing in the mirror. I started doing some exercise. I also noticed that one of my cheeks the skin became so thin, it was insane. So the injury is not healing, the skin is thinning out. the appearance in general becomes very tired. And at one point, I just looked at myself in the mirror and I cried. And I went to the store and I bought myself animal foods and I ate them. So that's how it happened. Show your boobs, Leland Cone. No. Mostly just don't know what to talk about. Boring life, I guess. It's mostly just don't know what to talk about. Boring life, I guess. That's something. I mean, everybody's life is boring. When you go to some corporate sphere and you go to some team building events, people are talking about how they bought a new TV or how they watch certain TV show and how they brought their kids to Disneyland. There is nothing else that people can talk about in most circumstances. So boring life and talking about boring life, that's understandable. In general, talk, in my opinion, should be productive. Talk should be bringing some change. Talk should be creating something. This is what the meaning of talk is. This is what we are evolved to. Or talk should be inducing some emotions, some like creating environment, creating some, or it can be for agreeing on something, aligning with someone, how we're going to cooperate. But it should be creative in essence. Everything else is just like this small talk. Don't tell me I'm Russian. When I came to the US and I got introduced to small talk, that's totally outside of my comfort zone. There are those reels on Instagram where like your POV, you're Italian, or POV, you're Slavic, and then there's this voice on the background. Hi, how are you? Fine, how are you? Fine, nice, how are you? And you're listening to that and you're like, oh, what's happening right now? Or, another funny thing that I noticed in the US was that everybody comes and asks you, like, how you're doing, how are you? And I remember the most notorious example of that I realized that people don't even expect the answer, was when my coworker was sprinting down the hallway facing me. And he goes like, how are you? And he keeps sprinting, so he's already 2 meters away from me, behind me. And I'm like responding, I'm like, I'm fine, how are you? But he's already in his own space, so it was never a point to have the conversation. So that's something that actually bugged me when I moved to the US. And this small talk culture is quite interesting. What can be interesting to experiment with if you struggle with talking about life is to keep an eye contact, meaningful, not meaningless. Instead of meaningless talk, try to strike people with a meaningful eye contact when you show them that you're reading them and when you're connecting to their emotions, because that may help them to reveal something that they actually would want to talk about. This is how you can build more trusting, more deep connections with people. That's what I found works really well. When you just are present with the person, present in the conversation. Because oftentimes those like boring, stupid conversations, they are substituting for presence. That we don't want to build contact, so we just throw words. Imagine there are two people, instead of building contact, they're just throwing words to keep the distance. That's how this conversational etiquette sometimes plays. That's what its objective is. So it's sometimes indeed the goal of these communications is different. But if you feel like you're interested in someone, if you feel like you would want to create a space that's more conducive of more intimate, more in-depth conversation, a good recommendation for you would be to look into their eyes just a little bit longer, perhaps smile to them warmly, and then you may see that your conversations may turn something more interesting. So that's some life hack. Would you say it's natural to occasionally look away when talking to someone, or should you stare at their eyes the whole time? The latter is really hard to do. No, you shouldn't stare. I mean, it's not natural, perhaps. Natural behavior probably implies some balance and also what's comfortable for you. I don't know. Yeah, I understand that you are probably. I know that your your interest is in building a more efficient communication skills, communication strategies, and perhaps finding a partner, Chad. And I understand that you're coming from, but I wouldn't be. If you have a problem, for example, you feel like you cannot keep an eye contact, then it's something that you can exercise and increase the duration of eye contact that you can withstand, and perhaps play with the flavors of that. What types of eye contact there could be? You can train on passerbys. I do this pretty frequently when I'm in good mood, when I'm like in very giver mood, when I have a lot of energy. Sometimes when I go for a walk, I start looking at people who I like and I just make eye contact and smile at them. And that gives a lot of this feedback. It builds a lot of comfort in how to communicate with them, how to communicate with your eyes, and how to withstand eye contact in different situations. Especially also, another thing, by the way, if you feel sympathy to someone, you can keep eye contact and you can actually express your sympathy to them. That's another thing that you can do, experiment with giving compliments to people, because there's oftentimes there's stuff to compliment people in a very delicate, non-intrusive fashion. So that's something to consider. I always look away, can't keep eye contact. Okay, I respond to that. Have a natural chill look. Watch them between the eyes or nose. Take breaks connecting with others with eyes. Otherwise, it could look weird, mate. No questions from you yet, madam. Kiyo, thank you. Yeah, do looking at the nose trick, but I still look away briefly. Do you have children? No. I am planning perhaps softly. No, I don't like planning. It was something so gross to realize that it's such a thing when people are trying for a kid. Oh my god, that's some social phenomenon that's on par with me as weddings because we're trying for a baby. And like, guys, God, I feel so sorry for you. It's just such a sounds very heavy, sounds very crazy. I feel like children the children, I conceptualize them as the flow of life that goes through your body. So it's materialized flow of life. And when you are living in full flow of life, when everything is aligned with that, when everything materializes through that, when you exercised it enough, that's when children come naturally as the part of this surplus energy, this vitality. So this is probably one of the most hygienic, one of the most beautiful ways to make children in my system of values. So, but other things, it's just planning. I feel like, but this flow of life, actually, this flow of life that is conducive of bringing a child, of course, implies that you eat well. Fortunately, through veganism and ex-veganism, I researched a lot on what's necessary for establishing healthy fertility. I learned a lot about that because vegans and children is one of the points of contention. And inevitably researching that, I stumbled upon a lot of information on that. So there are some go-to things that need to be performed to prepare the body for that. But then the mental work, for some people, okay, children will push them to do the right thing. But a lot of people will use their children as justification for their misery. That's what happens in most cases. People use their children as like, oh, I have a child, that's why I don't have this. I have a child, that's why I never did this. I have a child, so I can't afford this. I have a child, this is why I didn't embrace these opportunities. I have a child, I have something more serious than pursuing something that I truly love in life. So that's what happens most of the time when you look at people with children. It's just they create misery that is and they create a child, and the child becomes socially approved justification for their misery. And so that's what oftentimes happens. That's why I was very honest with myself. I knew that I was totally not ready for having a child mentally for many years of my life. I would feel like child would be another thing that robs me of my opportunities, robs me of things that I would want to do. I didn't want to put another person through that. So listening is just as valid as talking, I guess. If you have nothing interesting to talk about, can always listen to what others has to say. Exactly, yeah. Many people really appreciate genuine listener to listen to them. Just as valid as talking, yeah. Good point, Fruity Cutie. Yes, I rewatched the movie Interstellar. Very powerful movie. The scene when he's watching himself leave his daughter through the fourth dimension, knowing he couldn't change it. I never watched the movie. I would have guessed Russian with the accent, but despise small talk. The U.S. is way too full of it. Yeah, it's yeah, that's what I said. How it feels is oftentimes it's not the way to connect. I think maybe it transformed in a way that people in general, maybe they're losing social skills, but oftentimes it feels like indeed it's just to fill the space between people, to keep the distance, not to come closer, not to find some topic in which we can find some commonality and actually have a meaningful conversation or start networking. Because the idea behind small talk is networking, is potential friendship, potentially finding some commonality, like vibe check, perform the vibe check. But in most cases, it becomes the wall. And maybe again, maybe it's just an artifact of our modernity and the way that we mostly communicate online as opposed to communicating in real life, in which we need to handle the total projection of a human when we have to show up with our total projection. So maybe that's that. Because you read some like Theodore Dreiser's novels, and when you see how people network, how people just go and make connections with each other, it sounds unbelievable almost when we think about the modern days communications, how people rather avoid each other than are willing to talk and connect. And that's why those tricks of like subverbal tricks, such as body language, eye contact, and creating space for communication, that's when it can help greatly to lower anxiety and to lower the need to build a shield defense between two people. And in 13 Steps of Tantra, there is this glance of love, that trick that we are learning to actually project it from ourselves. That step already implies that you've already integrated your parts of personality. That step when you absorb the concept of glance of love, when you start looking at the world through the loving eyes. That step is when you're already wholesome, more or less wholesome, you're less stressed. And you can start bringing that to people, to start helping others to heal. That's when you create space. In general, in Tantra, what it does with relationships, I noticed, was a major revelation for me. It teaches you to create space for relationships. Remember the analogy of entangled guts? When people do this to each other in relationships, that's where we build defenses. That's where we build this wall between us in intimate relationships or in public relationships. In Tantra, we learn to create space where we can communicate, space infused with love, with comfort, where everyone is seen, where everyone can comfortably exist with their boundaries, when we're not throwing ourselves onto them, we're not inviting them to throw themselves into us. So that's what we're learning. That's the skill. Would be very helpful for you guys to master that. We have 4 canine teeth for a very good reason. I mean, a lot of animals, a lot of frugivore animals. This discourse on morphological adaptations to meat eating, they are pretty funny because there are plenty of frugivore apes that have an insane canine teeth that serve for just like mating rituals pretty much. So that's not necessarily the arguments that are strong. There are other biochemical things that are very well established that prove invalidity of vegan diet. Fiber is the #1 anti-nutrient that prevents absorption of nutrients. And a lot of whole foods, a lot of vegan whole foods, they are fibrous. So nutrients undergo, not only they're not bioavailable on a microscopic level, they're also not bioavailable because of the food matrix. That's when I studied that in my very first video on methionine, B12, and choline in my vegan deficiency series playlist on my channel. You can find that, it's available. In that first video, we talked about several tiers of bioavailability limitations. And one of them, yes, first is mechanical. Second is that nutrients are bound to things that our body doesn't digest. And then there are also, I don't remember what else was there, but yeah. The main factor, one of the big problems, is that fat-soluble vitamins are not bioavailable on a vegan diet, even through supplementation, because plant oils prevent absorption of fat-soluble vitamins that need to be bound to cholesterol, vitamin D, A, and K. So obese people actually have advantage if they go on a vegan diet. They will be able to withstand it longer. Because fat tissue, it stores those vitamins. So they have a depot of A, D, K vitamins. Thin people who go on a vegan diet, they will be much faster deficient in those vitamins because they will only have liver stores of those vitamins. So, and then from supplements, when you eat them, there are no cofactors. Supplements require protein. Supplements require a full amino acid profile to be received. Vegan diet, one of its advertisement strategies back in 2010s was that it's methionine deprived. And methionine restriction was considered to be the most healing thing on the planet until they figured out, and I have it in my playlist as well, that methionine restriction over extended period of time causes osteoporosis because now, problems with methylation, they cause destruction of collagen. So no matter how much of collagen supplements you're going to take, first of all, with prevalence of carbohydrates in your diet, you're going to be cross-linking collagen, destroying it. But secondly, you will have homocysteine that's elevated because methylation reactions are all screwed up on vegan diet because of multiple contributing deficiencies. High homocysteine will be attacking collagen. Our bones are collagen, our skin is collagen, our ligaments are collagen. Everything is made up of different types of collagen. And homocysteine being elevated, and it's proven that homocysteine is elevated, that methylation reactions are screwed up on vegans, that collagen synthesis is screwed up on vegans, collagen destruction happens very fast in vegans, that scar tissue formation is very poor in vegans. It forms into this very fibrous, very poor tissue. All of this is proven from many facets. It's all in my playlist. So it's not about the teeth. It's not about the some like visible morphological things. There are many things that are very in depth that prove invalidity of vegan diet. So it's I went in depth. So if you are very curious, you can go and watch the whole playlist. It's very rigorous, very nice with references and everything, with analytics and mechanisms. I love this lady, Magic Dragon. She's smoking weed more than I ever had in my life. What? I've never touched weed in my life. I ate hemp. That's the extent of my interactions with it. A lot of people use their children's veils to hide behind them. Not me, please. I have kids. Yes, children become the tools, mostly. Yes, it's the sad truth about some people, madam. Yeah. You know, there is this video from Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Candace Owens, and some other dude. And they're sitting there with very like funny theatrical situation arrangement and talk about how people who don't have children are narcissists. But people who have children, they are very very bad actually, and with super strong narcissistic trauma, narcissistic shifts, conflict with their narcissism because they start functionalizing their children. Their children become function. They're not humans for them. They're functions. So that's what happens in a lot of families, in predominant number of families, I would say. Either like they're either needed for some social validation, or they're needed for actual like operational functions, and so on. For taking care, to be containers of emotions, to dump emotions into them, to solve their problems, adult problems. United Snakes of America. Sure. She needs to buy electric scooter. Who's she? Magic Dragon. It's too common with parents who are miserable in that sense. Yeah. You open any forum board. Do you know about Nephilim? They want to go to Babylon. Mino want to go Babylon. The algorithm pushes no small talk people and the NFJs towards the stream. What did you study? Sonder Circus. I studied I don't know what exactly you are asking about. I studied physics, I studied engineering, material science, basically applied quantum physics probably, device fabrication, device physics in my grad school, and then I studied also psychology for all of those years, and then I studied Tantra to be a Tantra coach specifically, consultant. We don't use our canine teeth for neither mating or fighting with. I mean, neither we use them for meat. I mean, our front teeth are very good at ripping meat. My dog doesn't use canine teeth either, usually. Do you ever feel like you're being a different version of yourself depending on who you're talking to? I hate being fake or phony, but I still find myself doing it sometimes. Yes, that's something Something also that I'm integrating, that's one of the biggest challenges that I've gone through, because there are surely people in the field of whom I start feeling a different person, and then I realize that in the process, because something becomes so uncomfortable. I feel like I'm shrinking inside. I'm no longer myself. I'm not owning my life. I'm not owning myself. And then I need to bounce back. So that was one of the big things I was working on in Tantra as well, to find the way out of that state, and then to learn to not get into that state, to always be able to quickly reconnect back. Like internet loses connection, to always be able to reconnect even if the blip happens. If you feel triggered out of your normal self-perception, to quickly trigger back into your full perception of life, this like 3D normal perception of your life, instead of turning into a point, some laser focused, defensive, shrunk, different version of yourself. Yes, that the answer is yes. Hello Garuda, nice to see you. Define Tantra. Ayush, are you still here? Define Tantra. Tantra is the system of methods that allow a human to go from their dysfunctional, miserable state to fully embodied, fully connected, wholesome state in which they can live a joy forward life with a lot of supports, with a lot of pleasure, with balance, with feeling of security and ability to handle a wide variety of life situations. So think of it as there was some disorder, some disconnect between mind, body, emotions, some unauthenticity, some struggles driven by that, inability to handle life scenarios really well, numbness, physical numbness, overload, overwhelm. Person can come with that, and then through tantric methods, through working with the body first, finding the optimal state of the body, then going and learning certain psychological things, then learning interpersonal relationships, then learning some bigger picture things. We're expanding to come to our ideal, let's say, genetic maximum self, without unnecessary inhibitions, without impediments on the way of achieving our goals and experiencing life, most importantly, experiencing life fully, pleasurefully. I don't place much faith in star signs, especially after the dividing belief around Leo, Libra, Virgo, and Sagittarius. After the diving and beliefs around Leo, Libra, yeah, it's something I sort of have considered but not fully believe. Hey coach, hope you're doing well, Chunky Cat. Thank you. I hope you are well as well. Zodiac signs, I have a short video about it, by the way, about people who are too attached to zodiac, to tarot, to different magic. Tarot actually can be used as metaphoric cards, but there are people who use it as fortune telling instead of using them as introspection. In fact, by the way, working with different cards, working with different symbols, working with metaphors, images is one of the methods that we do in Tantra. In fact, people who have certain conflict, people who have never experienced something, we can access their attitude, their feelings about certain experiences through offering them the work with images. Because there are archetypes that are universal for humanity, but we can find them in different styles. First, even European art. You can go in medieval art. You can go look into Asian arts. You can go into even some, archaeological findings arts. You can propose them to a person as symbols to start a conversation, because not always a person is capable of connecting with themselves, capable with what bothers them. Not everyone has that skill. Not everyone is able to just say what bothers them, what they feel. So sometimes we strike that By proposing an image, what do you see here? And so metaphoric cards, an array of metaphoric cards, images, journals, magazines, erotic graphics, erotic art, can be used to build conversation around especially intimate people who don't want to use too graphical, too biological explanations for what is happening to them. 1 second, guys, I'll close the curtains and the window a little bit. It's cold today. 1 second. I'm back. So, zodiac signs, tarot readings, working with metaphoric cards can have very good supplemental role. But the problem commences when we see that the person relies on that as life support, when they cannot plan their day without looking at some fortune telling, without being told what their day encompasses, when they need a guidance from the outside. This is a telltale sign that the person is not connected with themselves. They're not on their path, or they have low energy. They have some energy leak to some anxiety. They're not managing. That's why they need external support, this pillar, to prop themselves onto. They're not being introspective. But there are hygienic ways of using all that symbology, in fact. It may be relevant in certain places and times, but it's not flawless. Have you tried raw milk, brain, or other foods like that? Raw milk, no, I didn't have a chance to try it. I mean, I don't care. I would. I would if I had the source. I just never bothered. I bought, when I had Whole Foods back in Florida, I was buying low temperature pasteurized milk that was not homogenized, that had this much of cream on top. Oh my God, it was the best. But raw milk, no, never tried it. Perhaps maybe in Russia I did without knowing, because it's not some big deal. You know, in America in general, you see online like, this is superfood, this is liver, check this out. And we had crepes with liver inside. We had pancakes made of liver as children. It never was a superfood. It was just a normal food. Sometimes mom would be like, I crave liver, and I would be like, me too. When I was little, we would be like, let's make it with onion. Yeah, let's make it. So would make this liver and just eat it, or would make pancakes out of it, or pancakes with it. Liver pate was my favorite thing. And then in the US, it's like, oh, raw milk. When my parents were just like going to the countryside, be like, got really great milk here, the raw milk from goat or something, from some old lady, from my brother. It's totally normal. But yeah, I was never big on dairy in general. I only can eat it with chocolate. I don't eat cheese and milk. I only drink it with cacao. I cannot stand this cow flavor, or milky flavor. Nah, since childhood I was not keen on that. So I was not the target audience, perhaps, but brain I really want to try. I love hearts, super love hearts. I love liver, and what other weird things? When I buy duck, it comes with all organs inside of it. I also love cod liver. I made videos. Greg actually commented. I didn't use vitamin D supplement this winter. I never did blood work. I was really curious to compare, but I just ate cod liver. Bought myself a whole stack of them. I was eating them 2 cans a week. Phenomenal thing. So cod liver, then I buy pate sometimes like that, but it's with pork fat, and I don't know, there's a lot of additives to it. Then I buy calamari tentacles. They're inexpensive, very cool seafood. Yeah, so sometimes people are really shocked with what I eat, but something totally normal for me. I grew up in the culture where it's embraced. Brain is something I really want to try. My stepfather swears by brain. He loves it. He says it's the tastiest thing on the planet. Yeah. Why is studying psychology so popular in Russia? Very cool about the engineering and physics studies, though. Well done. Thank you. Why is studying psychology so popular in Russia? I know. I think studying psychology is important for everyone, because when you start facing the world, especially changing world, especially when you start seeing repeated patterns, that's something that's valuable. I mean, I ended up what sparked my actual pursuit to doing that is because I ended up in the U.S. and the first advisor that I had was a psychopath woman with certain patterns that I witnessed growing up, that I underwent growing up. So I was like, I literally picked a situation in which I'm fully dependent, in total vulnerability, because I was in new country. I'm totally dependent on a psychopath again in my life, and that was so terrible. And I started looking like, what are the methods? Why am I in this situation again? So that's why I started looking into that. Plus, also, I mean, I don't think that's popular in Russia. I think it's popular everywhere. In Russia, perhaps, I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know if it's popular in Russia in general. I'm kind of disconnected with Russian culture, perhaps. So, but for me, it was that I ended up in vulnerable situation with a psycho, depending on the psychopath. My first advisor in the U.S., she was throwing objects at me, like she was throwing samples. Imagine you're sitting working, she like snaps the door open and throws samples, like experimental samples at you. So she was a total psychopath, and also you could not agree on anything with her because she was the woman with whom you were like, tonight she's in the good mood, like she had like 5 minutes of good mood, and you go through the plans for some research for tomorrow. You agree on everything, the next morning you come to do them. She again snaps the door open in the morning with her foot, with her body, whole body. She runs into the lab and yells at you, "What are you doing?" And you are like, "I'm doing what we agreed upon yesterday. I'm doing exactly that." And she's like, "Oh, okay." So her first response to the world in general, when she was just like when she was just functioning in the world, was to just behave in a very disgusting way. So I quit. Eventually, yeah, I was like, okay, I'm just morphing. I'm learning something that I don't care to assimilate to, and no psychological tricks besides my awareness that this will not change and that this pattern should break in my life will help. So I stood for my interests. I tried to stroke an open conflict with her, and I left. And it was the best thing in my life. Later, I found really amazing group, really amazing advisor, and realized how amazing grad school and academia work can be when you don't deal with psychopaths. 30 steps of tantric, Eva. Yes. Raw milk. Post, I want to try liver. It's supposed to be healthy, nutritious. Yes, it is healthy and nutritious. You can also look for different varieties because duck or goose liver will have some extraordinary amount of K2, supposedly. Then beef liver is very high in vitamin A, which you might not want. So chicken liver could be a better option. So there are different nutritional profiles in different animals. So do your research before you commit, perhaps, but any of them will be good. The taste might scare you at first if you never tried it, um, but there are ways to make it tastier. Quit telling your parents anything if talking to them makes your situation worse in your head. Exactly. Actually, that's what we started with. You complain about something, then you put yourself in a situation which you look like you're helpless. When in fact, after the conversation, you're going to solve the problem anyway. But you already created an image of yourself, the perception of yourself, and your own perception of yourself that you are incapable of doing things. I'm always fighting against the temptations of sin. Snow Bear declared that. Please describe the sins and temptations that you're fighting and why you're fighting them. What are those temptations, Snow Bear? Raw milk products are actually quite common. Mostly in America, it became uncommon when pasteurization was invented. Yeah, in Europe it's normal, in Russia it's normal. Jared, are you real? I have a hard time believing anything anymore. Jared, how can I prove that I'm real to you? I am. So quality of agriculture practices declined to be cost effective and pasteurization used to enable it. Yeah, something I heard as well. Then we have Let's Shave Legs says nice black shirt. It's a bodysuit. So good. Hoo hoo. Fruity. I know very little is only raw milk. Pasteurized, yes, for safety, but when you brought up like me, with the goat's title in one hand, shout in the other, you drink normal milk. Beep, 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 beep. What? That was goat tail and shovel. What is going on? I'm not sure. My parents grew up on a farm, drank raw milk from their cows. It was normal milk here. Yes, that's what I call normal milk. Shed milk is pasteurized. Yeah, I understand you now. Liver pancakes. I want to hear more about that. Liver pancakes. You take a blender, you put liver, raw liver, you put eggs, and whip them up together, and then you fry them. That's it. Hey, lady, Johnny Performance. Hello, Johnny Performance. I would call normal milk raw for its. Can't stay long, but have a blessed evening, Ruben. Thank you so much. You as well. I'm eating Russian crab sticks with white fish. James McCary. Russian crab sticks, I think they're actually Japanese surimi, right? They come from Japan. Hello, sister. How's your Thursday shuriken zone? We started off pretty turbulently this afternoon. I had a lot of adventures and a lot of self-reflection to make, but it turned me to make the whole topic of today's live stream to be how I actually deal with stressful situations. And I also talked about one lesson that I solidified for myself, to not vent to people and why. How has your Thursday been? It's like saying you're eating raw apple or something as opposed to simply an apple. Yeah. I was able to speed walk super fast for 1 mile last night and did not stop. I still got it. Thank you for advice. Nice, Garuda. Then we have some exchange. Elijah? Oh shoot, I think I know you. I know you. You're my future. My next goal is to speed walk super fast for 2 miles and not stop. The voice you just did of the lady sent me. Fingers crossed that you'll find out that okay, some person is being cold. The reason I walk super fast is the concept of burst speed. There's Russians down store down the road. I shop at they got good food in Russian store from Russia. I get crab sticks inside Russian store. Yeah, sure. I mean, they're pretty delicious. They're very tempting, but again, I'm avoiding starches. They're made with starch. Surimi sticks, they're really delicious. They're very juicy and tasty, super amazing. But I'm avoiding starchy foods because of my specifics. I'm starch-free, grain-free, so that's why it's this little peculiarity. That's the only reason why I don't eat them. So Kiwa is keeping up so far. Thank you, Kiwa. Let me drink. If I can walk fast, I can move fast from stationary. So running from 0 to 43 miles per hour is easier. I can do about 20 miles per hour. Running? Well, all things have turned out for the best, perhaps in the end. My Thursday has been eventful, which is fine by me. I have just thrown shuriken for a while, and now I'm drinking tea. Awesome. By the way, for my new things, new pursuits, I started picking up piano. I'm not taking any lessons, I'm just finding melodies. But what I observe is that when I just sit and try to master some new melodies, I find myself totally lost in space and time. It's so amazing. Another interesting observation I made was that it's actually easy to play and sing along. So that has been my recent thing. That's when I do when I walk fast, when I walk speed walk. I'm romantic, so I want to be able to move so fast and pull out a rose from my lap. Or her preferred flower. How many different styles of shuriken do you have? Picking up piano sounds wonderful. You're very gifted with your singing, and piano would go well with that, I think. Thank you so much. That would. But it actually when you there's an important element when you're learning something is to not get scared of the vastness of it in the beginning, because you want to play something really exciting, something complex, because that's how it goes for me. The more challenge, the more exciting it is, but then it may get intimidating. And So I'm trying to temper myself a little bit there. Piano is a distraction I use to pass time. Let me think about that for a minute. I'll get back to you with a number. Are there videos of you singing, dancing? Yes, on my Instagram, AF Wonderland there. Can I reply in the chat? Can I? Can I? Oh, message. Oh. Pin message. Can I pin some? No. Which message did I pin? Which message did I pin? Unpin. There used to be an option. So, AF Wonderland there. That's where there's singing video and dancing early on. I stopped posting that. It's actually one of the bummers that veganism did to me. I stopped being very connected with my body during veganism because I started feeling scared in it after that thing happened. I felt like it made me AF Wonderlander. Yes, exactly. That's the handle on Instagram. So it felt like I had to be cautious moving. That was the crazy thing that veganism did that I absolutely disliked. So I'm returning to dance routines. Clarify more. What? But singing is such a favorite activity of mine. I absolutely love it because it vibrates the whole body. You look like after a spa salon. You go sing for 2 hours, fully like with full body engagement. You vibrate your whole body. You train all of those muscles, deep muscles, and at the same time you also work with your emotions. Spa salon. You look so vibrant afterwards. My favorite activity on the planet. Dancing, and also if you can move along. Right now with certain like conditions, I do it in the car, so there's no way to like dance along. But yeah, that's phenomenal. I love it. I love it. In the previous apartment, one of the previous apartments I lived in, we had non-existent sound insulation. So it was funny because the whole all neighbors synchronized because we heard each other so much. We all synchronized to all wake up at 2:30 to use bathroom. So you hear like everyone wakes up at 2:30, everybody wakes everybody up, everybody goes uses bathroom. So we had this to this extent ridiculous soundproofing or non-existing soundproofing. So singing there was very funny because I would listen to when I worked from home, and then at some point I also quit my job, so I was just sing. I could do whatever I wanted, and so I remember waiting for my neighbors to leave home, and if I miscalculated, then I would hear stomping, like letting me know that they can hear me. That was pretty unpleasant. Your speaking voice so pleasant. I can't wait to hear you sing. Now you know my Instagram. There's not much wait. But thank you for your compliment for sure. It doesn't last long in a race. I'm practicing from stationary and move super fast, from statue to 20. Basically, how fast I can accelerate my entire body from 0. Singing also, by the way, I remember my friend, she was from a very, 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 very wealthy family in Moscow, and she was also into singing. And I remember she was giving me lesson because she was studying from some very prominent figure in Russian music industry. So she was taking lessons from her, and she was saying that singers, professional singers, they sing with their butt because pelvic floor is engaged into propulsion of sound. So it's a whole body effort. Imagine how wonderful it is from the tantric perspective, even when you are able to connect with all of that, when you can materialize this work, when you connect all of this, when you vibrate it all, when you feel it. So singing practices also can be a very wonderful addition to whatever life improvements you're trying to implement in your life. Singing and dancing both work with the body. Oh my god. What breed are you, Garuda? Siamese, Maine Coon? I have about 35 different kinds of shuriken now, but the collection is always growing. By the way, where do you order them? Do you order them from Japan? And how do you maintain them, by the way? How fast do they dull? That's sick. Do you have throwing videos on channel? Yeah, Shuriken has, by the way, videos. Very interesting to watch. I gave him feedback that they feel very animalistically disturbing when, because Shuriken Zone films them in a way that the Shuriken flies in the field of view. So it's really crazy to watch. So you have to clamp the gluteus maximus to hit high notes with singing. No, it's more that you have the whole. You need to have no obstructions on the way of your breathing all the way down, because that's how you generate as much volume as needed to produce um, sustenance in your singing. It's mostly pelvic floor that works there. Glutes don't work there. In fact, you should be very curated with what you flex and what you relax, because you don't want to have any happening anywhere. But at the same time, there must be some tone to muscles such that you can articulate. Sexy, Ron MC. Hello, Ron. It's practical to train with many different types because it allows the practitioner to eventually improvise shuriken from anything. Nails, screwdrivers, pens, pencils, anything. That's cool. I'm a bad a meffer with flathead screwdriver when I throw them at the cardboard bales at work. I have a friend from Michigan who makes most of my shuriken for me. He's probably the best maker in the world. Even practitioners from Japan have him make shuriken for them. That's awesome. That's amazing. What alloys? Does it matter which alloy you're using? Like, I know that there is a genre of Japanese knives that are super sharp and resilient. Do they have some special alloys for making them? Shuriken is amazing at his skill, guys. You should check him out. Exactly, yes. Let me. Maintaining them is easy. I just keep them clean and dry and remove sharp burrs with a ceramic sharpening stone. Nice. Have you played any instruments? No, I don't play any instruments. That's something that I never had time to learn when I was a child. I was going to the art school for fine arts, for painting, drawing, and sculpture. I spent 5.5 years parallel with it, with the main school, which was physics and math gymnasium. But I never went to music school. Probably I would not have time for that, realistically. But I was going to take singing lessons for several years. But it's interesting, both singing lessons and the art lessons, I realized certain principles later in my life. Sometimes like years later, even nowadays, sometimes I realize what my teacher was telling me. Shuriken though, do you have any trick shots? I like kicking a soccer ball into the air and then throwing the projectile to hit it mid-air. Oh. Do you have any of your paintings, drawings on your Instagram? Yeah, I do. I switched, however, from painting to showing my sewing because that became my main art. Because it became engineering and art fused together. But sometimes I do a little painting here and there, yes. I disowned a lot of my art though. And also, yeah, my drawings, when you go to my website, when you go to appointments tab, in the appointments tab, all the icons are my drawings, my graphics. I even published a little book with them. Most of my shuriken are made of 0 tool steel, simple high carbon alloy, and they're differentially hardened. The point is hard and the body is soft. Historically, they were just made from iron. Okay, I'm gonna watch later. Just stumbled upon tantric sex thing. Look at this. Check this out. This is instruction how to do it. I was just going through my notes, just casually, while we have some diverse conversations. My website is rawformoflife.com. You can just Google raw form of life, and it will show you my website. I became high in search. I used to draw when I was a teenager, but I haven't in a long time. I'm 33. 32, not 33. Sure. Pick it up. You still like it. I don't generally do trick shots, but recently I did throw some cans and pin them to the target because some friends wanted to see it. Sex instructions, that's a new one. Yeah, it's a tantric thing. The sequence. It's just funny to see it in perspective from the outside, you know? When you glance at it as an instruction. There are actually a lot of things that are used as in like therapy of sexual disorders, modern varieties. So, what is the velocity? Sure, you will be able to duck like 2 out of 5 shurikens. The third will get. This will get pegged. I need to work more on my burst speed to duck 5 out of 5. Soon we'll be able to outrun shurikens, zone shurikens without needing to dodge. They have some drawings we can see. Yeah, on my website. Go to my website. There are some icons and on my Instagram. Right now they are not accessible in my room. Doing some reviewing. Yeah, Kiva. These pages of step-by-step instructions. How romantic. Yes! Remember our principle, create a space, controllable space for experience. That's exactly what it is. It's a controllable space for pure experiences. That's how it goes. Precise instructions allow us to give in to creativity. Boundaries create creativity. Boundaries will enable creativity. But that's actually, that was the summary. Every single line of these, remember how I was discussing with, we can have a matrix. I remember someone was telling about how intimacy is so like limited in a sense, especially for men. And I was bringing up this topic how you can generate a matrix of different things that can be stimulated and what they can be stimulated with, and then how you can feel about them, what framework you can design for them, and what scenarios you can design around all of this in general. And it becomes a super multidimensional thing. So when I look through that, that's actually the convolution of that thing. But there's so much more, and there's so much more experience that goes into all of this. So it's a really fascinating thing. I was just going through my notes to revisit the whole 13 steps of Tantra in details. Because maybe I can bring up something cool for you today, something interesting, on top of what we already discussed. So Kiva, I may have a question, couple of minutes or seconds. Yes, please. Do you know how to prove that 1 plus 1 equals 0? Depends on the context. Depends on the model we're operating in. And actually, remember when we talked about the social anxiety thing? Something relevant popped up. There's a lesson in Tantra, Languages of Love. If you watch 13 Steps of Tantra, that's where it will be. I don't remember what exact step it is, but Languages of Love is a very important thing to exercise because you know how people sometimes diminish their communication, diminish their interaction with the world, or awareness of their interaction with the world to just, for example, verbal means, verbal cues. And sometimes we forget that there's so much more to human communication than words. In fact, through words we communicate 20% of information. Everything else is communicated through other outlets. Through our glance, through our body, through our attention. So people who have social anxiety, you should arm yourself with this knowledge and understanding that you just talking about stuff, about boring life, is just a huge, tiny fragment of our communication. And when you are having communication with someone, you can connect so much more, you can load up so much more than just the words can convey. So that's something to add to that topic. I know you have a lot of knowledge of nutrition and such. What should an alcoholic be eating and what supplements? You said you don't like them, but maybe I need a few. I don't know. I mean, if you are are you an alcoholic and happy with alcoholism, or alcoholic who is quitting alcoholism? Like the question is, are you do you want nutrition to cope with alcoholism, or do you want nutrition that allows you to to dial back on alcoholism? Because alcoholism, in fact, is what risk factors does it possess? It on the one hand, alcohol reduces your ability to eliminate purines from your body, which increases the chance of gout. Secondly, alcohol is also very bad for nervous system. Alcohol is very bad for the pancreas. Alcohol is very bad for the liver, so likely there's fatty liver disease. So anything that will help to purge the gallbladder will be very good, which means that you should stay away from fructose and you should eat probably like fatty foods plus bitter greens, perhaps in the beginning. So then alcohol also devoids you of vitamins. It's any intoxication, any harmful substance causes your body to lose vital nutrients, minerals, and vitamins. So your nutrition must be complete, and nutrition must be healthy without sweets, especially without fructose, because fructose increases the synthesis of fat in the liver, and fructose also enhances the synthesis of uric acid that may end up being, if you have alcohol problems and you don't metabolize purines, and if you also break down a lot of your tissues, because alcohol breaks down, it causes breakdown of your brain tissue, Alcohol causes breakdown of a lot of tissues, muscle tissue, proteins. All of that breaks down, overloads your kidneys with purines, with need to detox all those things. So anything that will help your liver and the kidneys to detox purines by minimizing the purine load, unnecessary purine load, that will help. And then, of course, whole food diet. No carbs might be a good idea. Well, both, because I like it, but I know how I have to cut it down. No question so far. I'm still reviewing. Apologies. No, it's okay, Kiwa. Take your time. We have plenty of things to talk about. I only drink after work, but it's a lot. I drink a pint of whiskey every day after work. Doesn't tell me anything. I don't know what pints are. I'm a milliliter person. I can envision gallon probably. But doesn't tell me anything. Alcohol in general, the need for alcohol, the need to opt for alcohol is. You said leafy greens and to avoid fructose. The video skipped a little when you were talking. Yes, I would suggest try dandelion. Include dandelion in your diet. Dandelion leaves. You can eat them as salad. Just wash them and eat them straight up. And meat, grass-fed meat, omega-3. A lot of omega-3 because you are daily destroying your brain. When you're destroying your brain, you need to rebuild it. Omega-3 fatty acids are important. Proteins are important. But minimize fructose. If you eat anything processed that likely has high fructose corn syrup, that's a straight thing that double attacks your liver, because liver produces fibrotic tissue in response to alcohol. It basically you basically are scarring your scarring your liver tissue every day with alcohol. And then if you eat fructose, yeah, it can overload your system. I believe that you're referring to step 11 for the 13 steps of Tantra. Yes, sounds right. Yes. Thank you, Kiva. Alcohol also depletes iron and most nutrients. Yeah, it does. That's why a very nutritionally dense diet. Yes, your short the other day made me think about this, the importance of creativity and ways that we communicate non-verbally through our creative endeavors. Man, you're really making me rethink those 12 beers a year, Nasty. It's more alcohol you drink, the quicker you perish. Fatty acids, yeah. You're welcome, madam. Thank you, Kiva. Yeah, so with alcohol, yeah, it's very important to keep other areas of your life in check. And then we also drink water because you need to dilute all of that with kidneys removing purines, removing everything that you're eliminating, because alcohol attacks, destroys tissues, and then your body removes that because it doesn't need broken down tissues in your body. All of that filters through liver and kidneys. You need to drink a lot such that you don't overload them, such that they keep functioning if you are not giving up alcohol. So that's an important thing. Dandelion will help both kidneys and liver, but drink water, enough water for that. Because dandelion is a diuretic that is in some way aiding in detoxing liver and kidneys. No, not detoxing, but aiding in detox process. Then what else can I tell you? Bell pepper is good for vitamin C to also support your body. Then omega-3, keeping omega-3, omega-6 ratio 1 and 1 to 1 is very important for you, because what happens is that you're also, and vitamin K2 as well, because your blood vessels are becoming brittle from alcohol. Your erythrocytes are being glued together. What you're doing is, when you're drinking, every red blood cell has lipid coating on it. Alcohol dissolves this coating. It causes red blood cells to clump together. What it does, they form those clumps that are non-elastic. Those clumps, they clog your capillaries. So you cause necrosis in the tissues that are supplied by capillaries, because those capillaries, they die out. The blood vessels are becoming brittle from that. Brittleness of blood vessels will start causing high blood pressure because you don't have ability to pump blood efficiently. So with brittleness of blood vessels, also high risk of wounding, poor healing. So you need to be very on top of consuming enough omega-3, enough of vitamins and minerals, everything that's conducive of protein synthesis, everything that's necessary for keeping healthy blood vessels without inflammation. And blood vessels become scarred and inflamed, and that causes atherosclerosis when you are having a lot of trans fats, when you're eating burnt oils, when you're eating deep fried stuff like fries and stuff, and when you are not consuming enough omega-3, when you're consuming a lot of omega-6, because omega-6, excessive omega-6 causes inflammation on the one hand, that causes scarring of blood vessels, that causes atherosclerosis. On the other hand, high omega-6 also causes AIDS and becomes the atherosclerotic plug itself. It's one of the biggest contributors to that. And then if you're eating a lot of trans fats, then they also oxidize cholesterol. Cholesterol, instead of healing the blood vessels that are damaged by alcohol consumption, starts damaging them further. So I like milk thistle and licorice root. Good as that for detox. Yeah, you should take them probably. I drink a lot of spring water. Don't drink soda or anything. Good. Dandelion and kids. So basically, when you drink it, the liver and kidneys stop functioning regularly and start working overtime to process the alcohol. Yeah. Alcohol that goes straight to the blood can give an inflamed heart, liver damaging kidney. Yeah. So you're dealing with all of that. And pancreas as well will be affected by that. So that's a comprehensive issue. It's an overwhelming thing. Brain also gets damaged. Every time you drink, you are losing a lot of brain tissue. It's a powerful depressant. Alcohol is a powerful depressant. So, well, that's what we're dealing with. That's the reality we're dealing with. But regardless whether you drink or not, everything that I said still holds. Our body is rated for a 1-to-1 omega-3, omega-6 ratio. Dandelion builds breast tissue. No, it doesn't build breast tissue. Don't worry about it. There's a bunch of technical info in the stream tonight. A lot to take in, but quite interesting. Thank you, Shuriken. Yeah. I would find, Chad, I would probably try to see how you can reduce the amount of alcohol that you consume gradually, primarily. Because we're right now approaching it through the supplement mindset, kind of. If it was more, it would be probably more positive, more efficient if it was therapy post alcoholism, right? When you're weaning out of it and trying to rebuild your healthy state. Yeah, the brain has to solve the problem, and the brain doesn't understand alcohol. It's like how the brain controls breathing and blinking. Not that I'm aware of. No, I don't know. It's there's a legend that cabbage builds breast tissue and stuff like that. They don't. Kurt says that he drinks a lot on the weekends and can tell their body needs more water. Yeah, indeed, it would be a very pleasant project to replace alcohol, for example, with healthy foods, with healthy diet, with some healthy habits, because they have the same ritualistic component. When you get into it, when you get interested in that, when you feel like you're taking care for yourself, that has the same element, ritualistic element, as drinking alcohol or engaging in any negative habit. So when you start replacing drinking with some positive habit, it substitutes this need for having that ritual that is for you. But it also has very good feedback. But the problem is that, remember, in one of the live streams I was talking about the guy who I worked with, who was telling that when he was younger, was like in his late teenage years, he was on a very like super Chad diet. Felt incredible. He had super energy, felt like superhuman, brain worked super wonderfully. But then the environment was not conducive of him being able to use all of that energy. He didn't find a way to functionally use all of that energy, to use all of those powers. And so he kind of lost motivation to pursue this healthy lifestyle because he just didn't put it to use, didn't put the resource that he was harvesting from it to use. So he went to veganism, destroyed himself, and then woke up again because destruction started being too much, incompatible with basic functioning. And so the first thing that we started thinking about analyzing, specifically that thing, how he lost motivation to be healthy, how he felt no motivation to care for himself, and what he could use his this like super grandiose, super powerful, energetic Chad side, this like Superman side, how we could use it for something in the world. Because if of course if he stays in the same room, in the same environment, in the same environment doing the things that he's doing, he won't have motivation to care for himself. Why? And that's where we're going back to that table laid. That diagram. If you're not motivated by creativity or getting laid, I mean, why care for yourself? You're going to do bare minimum. And then because you're dissatisfied on some higher levels that correspond to your most important, most needed brain activity, that like super pro-life motivation, then your brain will be just compensating for it through some unhealthy means, through consumerism, through alcohol, through some like whatever habits, depression perhaps, just simple depression, in like some boycott from your brain. So we need to find why you would want to take care for yourself and actually show that love, show that extra action, different new action, new way of caring for your body. I've been trying to attract someone like you, coach. Been off the alcohol. My name is Nasty, by the way, Chunky Cat. Been off the alcohol and smoking for 2 months now. The worst part is the withdrawal, but been feeling good as of late. Super hungry. That's really great that you are embracing your new life, new way of living. I'm really happy for you that you are just doing it. I think the cool thing to think about will be to that now it's your life. As opposed to using it as an achievement, perhaps the next phase of your embodiment of this new lifestyle will be to think that this is now your life and what you do with it. As opposed to thinking about it through the point of view that you quit something. So instead of again, that principle, we're detaching our identity from our identity that you quit something, or you were a smoker, you were a drinker, and now you're going out like here. What's there? This is your new life now, new life of opportunity, and focusing there, as opposed to focusing on the notion that it was in your life, it happened in your life. So if you're already over that, it might be worth stepping further. If there was normal food that actually built breast tissue, it would be very common knowledge. Yes, exactly. You know, it's actually in Russian websites. What's with my nose? In Russian websites, there are those, parasitic advertisements. I remember when I was a teenager, when you Google something, you go on the internet browser, they show those like pop-up ads, and they would have this like enormous breast lady with super thin body, and they would be like, secret cabbage soup. Your waist will be getting thinner, your breast will be plumping up. That was a super memorable thing for some reason, because it's all nonsensical. But cabbage is used in Russia for that, the folk recipe. Sounds like you need to offer a Tantra program that helps with quitting alcohol. Yeah, it's actually, I put it on my website that people who suffer, like have hardcore substance problems, I would only work with them after being cleared by after they're cleared by the narcologist. When they're already, even either when it's not some like super overwhelming problem, when they can manage their substance abuse, when it's not like substance abuse but substance usage, or when it happens with supervision from narcologist, or when they're going through 12 steps, then tantra can be a supplemental practice for them to find a new way of life, to find those like tools. When it is a person, for example, with super severe problem with substances, then the primary thing for that person is to send them to clinic for a detox, send them to some rehab, take that very seriously, and started through the work with a narcologist perhaps first, because it's an insane physical thing as well. There's the physical element of withdrawal that will be on the way of healing with everything, but with chemical substances, with hardcore things, it is a really, really strong thing that may require aid by multiple specialists. Like, and for example, nowadays in multidisciplinary sciences, there are different people, different specialists come together, chemists, physicists, and so on, to solve certain problems. The same happens with people who take substances because they're heavily chemically screwed up by some synthetic thing that blasts their system. Not even synthetic sometimes, quite natural, but regardless. Something extraordinary. I lost friend to alcohol poisoning. The brain just stopped working after a time. His body could not function. One person actually recently passed away. One very, very significant person from my childhood because of alcohol problems. Unfortunately, it was a very sad destiny because the person was very bright, very, very kind, insanely kind. It was one of the kind of people who don't drink, and alcohol doesn't change their attitude. And it was very, very kind and very, very promising person. But because of some conflict, because of some issue with parents, actually, they ended up drinking themselves to complete destruction. So recently it happened. Or if you're not going to replace your alcohol, finding it's hard to replace your alcohol with better quality alcohol. I distill your own. People can laugh, but it's just a fact. I'm very thankful for you and for your community. I think a lot of people can benefit. You guys are awesome, nothing but helpful information. I'm very happy, Chad. The body is the system and the brain is the temple. Hippocrates. You look like Topanga from Boy Meets World. Not familiar with reference. The community here is developing very nicely. Good folks are finding the channel. Exactly, Shuriken. Really nice. Chunky Cat, congrats. That's a great point. Said hi. Toa means brave. Hi. Reviewing finished. Nice, Kiva. The people who say stuff like that are never the ones who actually are full of it. Secret cabbage soup, yeah. We even have a joke about that in Russia. Just eat cabbage when girls are worried about their sizes. If you are detoxing, make sure to get sleep, drink bone broth, eat veggies and eggs. It helps me avoid processed food and candy. Yeah. Secret cabbage soup. I never have cabbage soup. I always use cabbage water as a stick for your soups. Stock. I like the input being spoken. Health is wealth. The body cannot function properly with party, drugs, or alcohol. The brain struggles to operate the digestive respiratory system. I'm sorry for your loss, sister. It's okay, Shuriken. It's it was said to watch that probably a decade ago, maybe 2 decades ago, because that already became pivoting point. After that, for everyone, it was understood. It was like slow, SUICIDE. So that's what it was. So for 20 years, it was a really slow process in which it was apparent that the person had decided that. So, thank you guys. Unfortunately, yeah, it's like it just becomes clear when person makes a decision. You just witness that decision being made. And then, well, that is, by definition, slow way to disappear. A lot of wandering and self-blaming in those cases. Tapering off alcohol is the only way, so you don't get delirium tremens or shakes, but I failed several times. The fact that you failed, I don't want you to focus on that fact that it was failure. Because when we learn that it was failure and we start focusing on that it was a failure in the past, that can prevent you from finding the solution. It can prevent you from just starting to live differently because you're looking at it from some like failure context, failure success context. I feel like again, it's we're holding on to something and we're defining our experience through whether this thing worked out or not. But there's a world of opportunities. So if we step out and remove the context of whether you succeeded or failed at something, and we just look at life in general and we find the functions, we find what we want, we find all our tools, expand our scope of view, field of view, and start living without attachment to previous experiences about that. That might lead you to finding your way, Chad, because yeah, one of the examples could be in relationships. Your partner did something 10 years ago. In every scandal you bring it up, how your partner did it 10 years ago. So your partner is always brought to that point 10 years ago in every conflict. They're brought in that moment 10 years ago when they did something that was considered failure. So your partner feels like no matter what they do now, you see them from the perspective of that 10-year-old failure. So they see that their efforts are pointless because they're being seen through the perspective of 10 years old failure. It's very important to go now, assess what's happening now, look at yourself with clear eyes, look at yourself with what it is now, as broadly as possible, as opposed to defining yourself through that experience. I understand that's such a terrible thing to see, and the inclination is for friends to wonder. There was something they could have done to prevent it. This is not how a person should feel, but again, it's you see that some people, you see when I notice that when I feel compelled to intervene, I feel compelled to intervene when I feel like there is a mismatch between person's energy and what they're doing or how they feel about themselves, how they think about themselves. You can tell there is a mismatch. Some person, for example, declares that they're done, but you see that they're beaming with energy. You see that they have this inner rebellion, they have a lot of spark. Even if they're highly negative about their life, you still see that there's a lot of energy pumping. That's when it's interesting to intervene. When you see that the person made a decision, internal decision, to go that route, and they organize the entire world, entire life to corroborate that decision, there's no space to intervene. So there is, it feels authentic and absolutely like kind of expected what happens in that circumstance. They don't allow you space to enter and save them. They don't, they close, a big part of them closes from you. And you cannot do anything in that case. They show you that they made the decision. They showed you that they're responsible for this decision. And every conversation, there's this echo of what they've formulated for themselves. So that's a very hard thing, of course, but at the same time, their assurance that this is what they've chosen, is what helps you as the observer to settle. Because yeah, you try, you do try, of course, you do try, but then you understand that the person has made a different decision, and there's nothing that can change. The system that they've built that takes them out is much stronger than the system that you can help them build. and they don't come to you for help. Sometimes it also becomes the way some people do it in a way that they express pain through that. They perhaps want to be seen through that. And then also you intervene because there's this energy that there's still some meaning to that process. There's still something that can be done. They show you that. They hook you on that. They show you that there is a chance. It's a twisted thing. Just started caring more about myself more, or for a while I was deliberately drinking myself too. Now I'm just stuck with the addiction, even though I want to better myself. Do you feel yourself, Chad? Like, do you feel yourself? Because better yourself. That's an interesting thing. And also, what role addiction plays there? When you're drinking versus when you're drinking versus when you're not drinking, what are these two things? And addiction, I understand that element. There's chemical addiction, of course. Your brain right now, we talked about in the last stream, we talked about that everything is biochemistry. Everything is some molecule fell on some receptor and caused some reaction. Some chain reaction, perhaps, that made us feel something. So what does you interacting with alcohol do in your body? Like, in your opinion, how does it feel to you? What helped me the most was using your tantric method steps 1 through 5. Helping me deal with my past trauma and facing my shadow was huge in dropping those substances. Already, Chunky Cat? That's amazing. That's impressive. That's super cool. I've been there. I was only the disgust of a woman that made me quit. She couldn't bear to look at me. I was so very, very lucky. Yes, this is a wise perspective, indeed concerning when to try and to intervene. If more people understood this, there would be a lot less needless guilt, maybe. Question, madam, if I may, regarding the topic earlier after reviewing. Yes, sure, Kiva. Practiced drink before, but not like this. It was the breakup and other sources of stress, doom that I chose to cope in this way. Okay, we're waiting for a question from Kiva now. By venting your emotions, it will affect others. Would this mean that others would view it through their own experience, making emotions high? Yes, this is the facet of that. So, I think we talked about it actually a little bit in passing. So, when we bring some issue to others, some emotional charge to others, we pour them our reaction, and people inherently will think about it from their own lens, their own perspective. They will receive emotional charge, especially if it's a parent-child relationships. They will look at it as my child needs help, because emotionally they are connected with children as the savior. They're always vigilant about their children. So if it's with parents, it's especially important to perhaps be careful about it, because parents get triggered to start saving you. When parents get triggered to start saving you, they feel like you are not managing life. That's how they feel deep inside. Yes, rationally they may acknowledge these concepts. Later, you may talk about this through later. Maybe parents are very mature, very aware, which we should not bank on. Typically what will happen is that people will respond, they will come in resonance with your emotions, they themselves will get agitated, something that is happening to my baby. They want to save, and at the same time they respond to your calling by creating the system in which they regard you as you're not capable. When you're not capable, they for themselves create the outlook of you that in the circumstances in which you will be totally capable, in which you will be totally in good state of mind, they may be regarding you through the lens that they learned in the emotional heat that they're not capable. So at the same time, they may already have concept about you. And by bringing this fuel into relationships, may further enhance this concept. But because parents already, for example, people you're connected with, they already have some biases about you. They already see you as something. They already have a concept about you. You see yourself as this, 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 this. They see you only as this is this, and this and this. And that can lead to further frustration because you go continue these relationships with these people and you notice that they feel about you in a way that you don't agree with. It creates conflict on a very deep level that you cannot communicate even because they created this image that is very corporal and emotional, that triggers them on a very deep level. But you, for example, want to communicate something else. So later in communication, you feel sucked into communication in which you are not being seen as a strong, able individual who embraces other facets of their personality, because the strongest emotional bonding happened in that circumstance and on pretty negative emotions. So that's the risks of that. This is where it's not strategic to behave like this. This is where, long term, this is a bad strategy, in my opinion. For anyone trying to kick alcohol, I suggest considering replacing it with tea. Good tea, not the stuff from bags. May sound nuts, but you'll need something serious to fill that void. Didn't mean to just make it about me, sorry. It's okay, Chad. Everybody makes it about themselves, and it's the nature of our stream. Everyone is benefiting. You don't need to be sorry for anything. Exactly. It's also everybody who brings their story turns into discussion. Everybody can think about things that are relatable to them. I had about 10x source of stress that broke before I started drinking. The drink added about another 10x but replaced the original 10. Covered up the original problems but added different one. Iced coffee. Replacement is key. I've heard that also, but coffee is known for creating the jitters. That can be counterproductive. Okay, I see now, Kiva. Good. Madam, спасибо большое for clarification. I wasn't sure on that part at first. Okay, thank you. It was good to discuss it again. It's what you're gonna replace it with that matters. Replace it, yes. Well understood. Super. Super, super, pooper. Like, what would be your first thought, by the way? If you, for example, are confronted with the option to drink alcohol, like what happens in the moment? I'm curious to go into that moment. You are confronted with an option to drink alcohol. What is happening in that exact moment, guys? How does it play around? Like that exact moment. When you are in this scenario, when alcohol is in front of you or you're going and purchasing it, what is going on in that moment? I didn't want to backtrack because it was at the beginning. It's okay. We always turn circle. How do you feel about skull cap tea? Can understand that, but for it turns out off. Not going to be helpful here. When Mackenzie and I decided to have a beer, that decision is often made days in advance. I love this community, Garuda says. Yeah, I also do. Social glue when it's the occasion that we connect on with someone. That's the function is clear. When we talk about the person who sits in their home and drinks That's a totally different story, right? Because when it's social glue, the scenario is clear. That's what I mean. It's in the name of the process, I guess. Also, do have expectation that there will be a drink. Like, is your life, for example, what I noticed growing up from adults who were drinking around me, I noticed that they had certain mood, and later when I grew up also and started witnessing others, it was crafted as, for example, the whole week they feel frustration growing. They feel like life is not good. But then they know that on Saturday night they will have a party, they will have alcohol, and they start closer to that Saturday, they start making jokes about it. They start getting more and more excitement, and then Saturday comes and they're very excited about it. So there is a spectrum. If we were to draw the graph of their mood, it would be from very down, because it's hungover after that party. Then improving slightly, but still being very down. And then spiking up towards this party, then spiking up strongly, and then dropping very strongly down. So that would be the graph of the mood of people for whom alcohol consumption is a habitual, regular thing. I mean, occasionally, like once every few months, I'll kill a six-pack by the pool when the kids go to bed. I'm not much of a social drinker every night. And what is that for you? Do you like the taste? Do you like the relaxation, some chemical effects of it? Do you like what? Like, what is that for you? I don't get hangovers probably because liver isn't producing the bile. Decompression. What is the source of compression? Why are there no better source of decompression? Because perhaps to decompress physiologically we need some vitality. When we're very disconnected from the body, then we cannot seek decompression physiologically. So by the time we approach the moment when drink comes in handy, that's when the body is both exhausted and tensed up and needs decompression. So we opt for hardcore tools to crack that decompression happen, like break into it, as opposed to dialing into it physiologically. So that's how I would envision that scenario, in which it's the way to decompress. That's my relaxation, that's my solo space. Perhaps that would be how I would envision that. With ritualistic element as well, it creates controllable environment. Remember that concept also comes in here. That it creates a controllable environment. I have special scenario. I have ritual. I have a substance here. I control it. It creates controllable environment for this decompression. So that's how I envision that. The tension grows. The fatigue increases. We don't feel it. So, because we don't have resource to physiologically decompress, we opt for substance by creating a controllable environment, a ritual around it. And expecting this decompression, we create feedback loop that it does lead to decompression. Because my overall level of vitality on a daily basis is low, because I'm disconnected from my body. That's why I don't care to have this hangover next day, because the background is already mediocre. So the difference between the baseline state and being hungover, having consequences of alcohol, is small, but the difference between baseline level and having alcohol in the system is positively high in the moment. That's why alcohol becomes a useful tool, because the negative consequences of alcohol are not as pronounced compared to the baseline, but positive effects of alcohol are very pronounced compared to the baseline. Plus, it's all something in my control. I'm creating this controllable environment, predictable effect, and decompression, expecting decompression. So that's what we're dealing with. This is the function of alcohol. I'm going to make this a side topic note. Very interesting. Cool. You're very beautiful. Gamin, thank you so much. Thankfully, I don't enjoy drinking anymore. I might have a dozen cans of beer in a year, but for a few hot brandies and... Okay? I live by myself, though. No one else is being affected by my drinking. Sure. But you are affected by your drinking. And I don't really hear about the positive aspects of alcohol. This is new to me. Now that decompression, that's a very desirable effect of it. The predictability too. Imagine it's something predictable. Life at work, for example, work can be unpredictable. There's a lot of stress and unpredictability. Then you go home, like social life can be unpredictable, uncomfortable, unpredictable, drains resource. Then you come home and there is controllable thing that leads to relief. It's a habitual thing. I control it. It's a habit. It brings relief. It has predictable outcomes. So I just go for it. There are people who even take laxatives. They give predictable effect. So they know they take laxatives and they will have a relief in a predictable fashion. It's very similar, I think, concept to rely on some pill for some function that allows you control over some biological functions. Alcohol temporarily widens blood vessels, dilates blood vessels, not thins the blood. It glues the erythrocytes together. It clumps them together. Let me actually bring my whiteboard. Can we see the whiteboard? So, what happens, right? This is our day or week. And this is our mental state. This is some zero, something neutral, some 0 point. Mental state will go like, let's say this is previous week, or it's like the cycle. We're talking about the cycles of drinking. Let's say this is our day after drinking. The mental state is very down in the beginning of the cycle. We start this cycle. It's pretty down. Alcohol is a strong depressant. Perhaps it gradually, we have the expectation that here we will have that alcohol. So this is the time point where a person will have alcohol again. So they have an outlook of this moment. This is a very cheerful relief moment. So their mood, first it's bad because they just had the hangover or disappointment with themselves that they just drank. The mood is down, but then they start thinking, soon there will be drinks. So the closer they get to this point, the mood improves. And then there's, boom, this strong reward. And this thing kind of sits in the attention plan. Person doesn't think about what will happen next. This is much more valuable because there's instant reward. There's an explosion of reward from the body for this specific act. that the going back, crashing back to this point the next day doesn't feel like something scary. So attention cannot see through this thing right away, in this moment especially. The closer we get here, the more the person will be seeing this reward. But then if we look at life of such a person, it will look like a sequence of very down time with strong spike of reward. Then the spikes also get lower and lower because alcohol is we have tolerance to building up for every single substance. Tolerance increases, so it stops being as impactful. So this whole thing just goes downward. And overall state, the net becomes on average becomes very grim, becomes very dark. So the even expectation of this spike becomes very small. I'm just analyzing right now what happens. And gradually this brings us to the perspective in which this delta here, this crash, is not even that impressive. Somewhere here perhaps there was a zone in which the crash was strong enough and this one was getting lower. So there's probably some favorable point in which a person can more realistically quit. But when alcohol just becomes a part like constructed into normalcy somewhere here, when there's no crash, when there's no hangover anymore, when there's even no reward anymore as much from alcohol, it's just a normal part of very depressing life, that's probably the point where we are right now. That's what we're discussing right now, right? Chad, sounds accurate or not? Yes. Okay. So the point in which negative effect is not so bad and reward is not so big. But overall, there is a depressive background state. Depressive background state, let's say, always was and has been in some capacity. The summary is that, I'll repeat for you, Chad. I was just drawing the cycle of drinking, right? First, you're like, wow, drinking, so cool, super strong reward. But then crash because your body is very responsive to intoxication. Boom. Then you recover from this crash, and you start looking forward to drinking again. Reward is already slightly smaller over time because body builds tolerance, but still strong. The body perceives this reward wants it because it's so unprecedentedly strong compared to your baseline state. Then the crash happens. Then as you keep drinking, the reward starts being smaller and smaller. The crash starts being smaller and smaller. But what happens is that this crash, if for example before this was your initial state, the crash was lower than it was. But then you gradually also probably lower the state. So you overall become super depressed individual. And alcohol doesn't do anything but maintains, it becomes the maintenance of that depressed state. Which, let's continue logical exercise here. Let's continue the logical exercise here. I'll erase this. Yes, this is dopamine reduction in most addictions. Yes. I'll erase this. And now we're going to continue with our logical exercise. So alcohol gradually brought you to this slow-paced depression. So what remains here? There are no swings. There's no stimulus. There is nothing to look forward to effectively. It's just some grim normality here. Something very very dark, something very depressive. So what is holding people here? There are two components. One is physical addiction, just a chemical addiction, chemical dependency. What is the second component then? If there are no swings, if there is just grim stability, what is that? Familiarity. So we have familiarity and physical addiction. Physical body is hooked on that. What's the strategy? When I stop, I'll be sadder until being a regular person starts. Yes, because you're working against two factors. You're working against this hooked part of your persona, like your physical self, whose receptors are dead. So you need to reactivate them. And you're working against familiarity. What to do? Let's draw on this graph. Where is our normal state here? What is that state that we pursue in Tantra, for example? Where is it? Somewhere here. This is where we should kind of live. With some oscillations, some physiological oscillations, up and down. Experiencing joy. Here we'll have joy. Here we'll have some sadness, let's say. No, some healthy emotions. So this is where we should be, but we're here. So familiarity is a comfort zone. That's we seek, whether it be alcohol or other habits, which makes us feel safer. Yes, you're understanding this right. Feeling of safety, sometimes some people will be feeling safer with familiar, abuser, whatever. Like this. With some bullshit relationships, they will feel safer even though they're physically unsafe. It's safer because it's more familiar. So how to go from here to here? What to do, Chad? What comes to your mind? Yes, staying in abusive relationships is a better example. Yeah. Why people stay in such relationships in the comfort zone? Yes. Oftentimes, yes. So dependency on alcohol can be similar. Yes. Plus also, I mean, in all cases, in all dependencies and everything that we experience in life, there is component of course, biochemistry. Yes. Everything can be biochemistry. But we split them into two just for convenience, because there's a facet that we can rationalize. There's a facet that we can work with through rational means, through working with emotions, other than approaching it through just pumping some chemistry through. We'd have to fill it with hobbies, I guess. You think more. Let's brainstorm more, Chad. Working out 4 times a week would provide enough serotonin for that gap and will help rewire brain receptors. Does marijuana addiction fall under that category? Yes, it does. Anything one that you rely on, anything one that becomes your sole point of support, falls under that category. You make me feel really gay for being an alcoholic, but I get your point. So let's think more. Now we're in this graph. How do we go from this grim, depressed state in which we're totally numb, feelings already non-existent, they don't work, this part of spectrum is not accessible altogether. Let's think for more tools. We need to do this expensive work. We're going shopping right now for all those tools. So, what can pave this path to us? I want to brainstorm right now. The more we think about, the better. No right or wrong answers. Write everything that comes to your mind. Also, forcing yourself to socialize with kind of people will help. With kind people will help. And remember, we're working with this, and we're working with this. Doing something outside of the box, something easy, by the way, кстати, in Russian, might help here. Something easy, something new, such that brain starts developing in a controlled environment, starts developing some new skill. That will be my one suggestion. I have friends and I live by myself, so to replace drinking, I'd have to replace it with hobbies. Okay, so let's go here. Familiarity. Can we create a ritual in which for 10 minutes a day, you're doing something new? Something new. What's opposite of familiarity? Something novel. Something that you don't typically do. Something unfamiliar. Learning something new. 10 minutes. Comfort zone. Total comfort zone, but for 10 minutes every day we have an alarm. We outsource control for that. And do something new, one new thing. Can we introduce anything here? To work on familiarity attachment. To force myself to go in the sane room. Yes, the beginning you have to force yourself out of the unhealthy familiarity. But usually I don't enjoy things unless I'm drinking. Guys, let's throw something. What can break this familiarity attachment? Activities, any activities, Chad. Anything simple. I like painting minis, guitar, and I'm learning throat singing in the work truck. Sure. Can we set an alarm for every day to spend 5-10 minutes doing something that's outside of your familiarity? Here, Chad, I really encourage you to subscribe to my newsletter because I want you to benefit from some meditations. They're specially curated to restore the physical responses to chemistry that our body produces. They will be available soon. You can download them and start working on them, but sports is something that you surely can do right now. Light fitness, not super stressful fitness. But also fitness, you can combine fitness with, for example, you do stretching, some yoga, something. What do you mean? I mean not to build a new familiarity. Coloring printed images helps, but to get comfortable doing things that aren't familiar. Yes, yes. To just show your brain that it's not scary to do unfamiliar things. That it's not scary. You can do it and survive. You show to your body, to your mind, that it's totally cool to do unfamiliar thing. How long would it take you to get used to massaging women all day? I started learning Chinese, so that's kind of weird for me. Yes, for example, you need to get out of your comfort zone sometimes. So you show to your brain, we do new thing, and it's cool. It doesn't shatter anything. Change your schedule around, for example. Change your routine on the weekend. Do it in a new way. Go to a new place. Eat a new food. Something. Especially if it's related to the activity. If there is also energy flow in this activity that breaks your familiarity pattern. For me, doing things spontaneously instead of planned advance is outside of my comfort zone. Yes, by the way, that's a really cool example too. Something that you just do on a whim, like you have an impulse to go somewhere, you go. You have an impulse to call someone, you're not double thinking it, you're calling them. I want to learn Chinese too, but Mandarin or Cantonese more common. Is Mandarin and Cantonese more common? So yeah, we do spontaneity, like new things. I'm trying to write backwards. New things. Spontaneity. Mandarin is standard, 50-50, and normal is same. There's life changing. Yeah, Mandarin is a lot more common. Traveling helps too for those who are able to. Even traveling, even looking at places with new eyes or taking new routes, walking around familiar places can help too. Not ignoring what you're saying, Nastya. Sure, Chad. So new things, spontaneity. That will help you to be comfortable with not familiar. That will help to increase what happens, right? When you do non-familiar things, they increase the oscillations here. And perhaps one of the oscillations will bounce you back to closer to the spectrum of things. I can tell there's going to be a happy ending to this stream. So, then, what to do with the body? What shape, what our body holds right now? Let's analyze this one now. Because these really little new habits can surely start being good aid, but what's happening with the body right now? What is body holding on to? What is the dominant right now? What is the dominant feeling in the body right now, Chad? If we briefly scan it, like from the top of your head down to forehead, then behind your eyes, somewhere in the center of the head, then in your jaw, in your chin, in your mouth, behind on the back of the neck, in the front of the neck, in your chest, in your shoulders, in your arms, in your solar plexus, in your belly, in your sides, in your back on the lower back, hips, pelvis, legs. What's the dominant feeling in the body right now? If you scan it and in the percent, what does your body constitute the most right now? On the topics of traveling, some meditations are vacation, and all of them, in and of themselves, and they are free. Yeah. I just realized that you must be writing words backwards. They appear correctly for us. That's impressive. Yeah, I do that. I got into habit of that. It actually took me just a little bit of time to learn that. My joint torso. What's in them? What's in your joint torso right now? What does your body soul communicate? Horrifying feeling of dread. Okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting way to put it. You ask me where I feel most right now. Okay, you feel most, and what do you feel right now? In the jaw and torso. What's there? Are they alive? Are they tense? Are they calm? Are they relaxed? Do you feel pleasure there? Do you feel just something and everything else is numb? What is that? Or maybe horrifying feeling of dread. Folks, you have noticed, sister, that is just your garden variety human. Heads off to you. Heads off to you, sister. Most aware of my joint, I feel all my organs working but not pain. Okay, we have jaw. I'll write torso too, I guess. Torso. Working. No pain. She's more of a O2, O1 2 still. I can't remember variety of human. Okay, so what is your bodily desire right now then? You feel all of these things. All organs are working great. Torso, jaw, we feel. No pain. What is the desire of your body? What does your body, like if you close your eyes, what does your body want from you? Cucumber, Hippocrates suggests. Sleep, sleepy. I'm always tired. More of an O1 tool steel. That's one of those designer super steels created by Swedish scientists. I wish I was kissing a woman right now. Okay, so want affection. Kissing, is it like more? If you think of a kissing, what is that? Is it just like something? Is it tenderness? If you turn it into, if you describe the qualities of that kissing, what comes to your mind first? For me, it was, I'm sorry, I threw this word tenderness because that comes something that came to me first when I imagined that. Also, another thing to think about it, well, I want you to write and then I will throw another hypothesis there. Actually, something made me think. Kissing is one of the most pleasurable feelings I've ever felt. Kissing. What is kissing? It's in the mouth. Kissing is associated with feeding. Kissing is literally the promise that you will be filled. You will be fulfilled with something. Kissing is something that that is nurturing, when we think about it, is something that we will receive, because that's how kissing in general, the whole ritual of kissing in itself, it's an act of care. It's the projection, it's a promise of care. It's the promise of being nurtured, filled. So it promises, just through this like oral area, it promises something very nurturing, something that fills you up. It's a promise of that. When we're interacting with something with our mouth, we're receiving food through the mouth. It's the first when our psyche is forming. Our psyche imprints mouth as fitting and feeling filled. So through this oral cavity, we receive tastes, very bright sensations, and we get nurtured. So the craving for kiss can be possibly, it's a hypothesis, don't take it personally, just let it pass through you and see if it resonates. It's like satisfying some hunger. It's a promise that the hunger will be satisfied. Does this hypothesis ring with you, or do you think there is something else to it, Chad? It's not something you can emulate in any way. It only happens in true mutual intimacy. I'm not trying to emulate anything. I want to see what's beneath that desire through the physical premise of that. I'm trying to ground that, to derive the true need that is behind that. Because you receive alcohol through your mouth, you want to be filled with it. It fills something. The kiss, one of the metaphors, can be a promise that something will be filled. So what are we filling with that? Is there emptiness somewhere inside? Is there some empty cup inside? Something that yearns to be filled. Is there anything of that kind if you listen to yourself? Dopamine hit is what it comes down to, right? Let's a little bit journey through metaphors a little bit. I want female affection, intimacy again. What will they fulfill? Not easy to say, not too easy since I last felt that. I've been learning not to store an active dopamine hits. You should do SMR. You have a soothing voice and lovely accent that complements it. Thank you. I'm recording meditations on my website and exercises. Kind of maybe ASMR-ish in a sense. You'll be able to download them soon. There will be tantric, introductory, foundational tantric exercises, audio exercises with explanations how to use them. Because I want to focus on that kiss again. Is it that like drinking water, being like satisfied, satiated with water? For example, when you fall on the ground at a stream, and you like this moving water touches your lips, and you are getting satisfied. You satisfy thirst with that. What are you satisfying? With that affection? Is it like thirst? Is it like hunger? Is it like breath of air? And also another thing that comes to my mind, I'm right now going through the kiss in my mind. And why, like how it can be craved. I'm going through feeling it. To me it's also movement, certain movement and relaxation at the same time of this area of tongue. To tense tongue. Our tongue is also something that can hold on to a lot of tension, something that we can use to get this satiation. And there are exercises I can give you. But I want you to first think, what is that kiss? Is it like satisfying thirst, satisfying hunger, breath of fresh air? What is that? Yes, to me it's all the same, just not as romantic. Seems like trim butterflies. The feeling of warmth physically from a woman. What else? When you kiss specifically, because you see, you satisfy something through alcohol, through drinking, and you want to kiss. I want to connect the two, perhaps, to see the moment when you interact with either, are they related or not? The feeling of warmth, we're also recording. Don't worry, I'm taking into account every word of yours. This is just something that came first. It feeds the human need for intimacy and connection. But what's behind? I understand that it's a fundamental need for intimacy and connection. But when there's mechanism broken for where we achieve that, when there's something on the way to achieving that, and then there's some fixation, perhaps, some hyper focus on something, that's what we're trying to demystify, because there could be tension on the way to achieving that intimacy. A lot of tension. Imagine there is a target, like there is this woman with all the intimacy and everything. But there is some tension, some barrier there. So we want that woman, but we can't, because there is a barrier. So we need to work with this barrier first. Well, there is women who won't kiss but will have sex with you. We're going away from that. Why did you want to move away from that topic? Is it uncomfortable for you to discuss it in the context that I proposed? Because I want to bring it to biology. I want to bring it to very, like, not biology, something very like both corporal at the same time, like sensual, specifically sensual, like through senses. What senses are we working with? What is that, like, that we're receiving through that? Because that's what will help us to dissolve this barrier here. Because we will find a way to remove this barrier. Because it seems like this lady carries this barrier with her. At the same time, very strong desire will dissolve this barrier, and the intimacy, the ability to seek intimacy will come naturally. Because oftentimes we try to fulfill something with, because we have a concept of something, we try to fulfill it through different wrong means. And then we get like dissatisfied. But if we fulfill something with the right means, for example, I fill this cup by myself in some good way, or there is tension that drains me. Simply your tongue, your jaw can hold on to a lot of tension that drain you. You don't perceive them because they became the part of this baseline here. So you don't perceive them, but they drain you, and you feel this emptiness. You asked me what I wanted to feel. That was my honest. No, you are honest. I understand that. I want you to think what sensations in the kiss. I want you to zoom in here, okay? I want you to zoom in here and see what this will bring you. If I'm causing frustration, sorry about that. I can dial back on my inquisitive energy, perhaps. It's passion, and kissing is real intimacy, yes. You're a little too, okay. So, you asked, yeah, Chad, why I want to bring it to this very bodily thing? Because intimacy is, sense of intimacy are in some like soul plane, right? When we talk about intimacy, how we experience that, it's our body experiencing it. That's what I'm doing right now. I want to bring it as close to the bodily experiences as possible. That what is happening in that body when the kiss is happening. Warmth, you described warmth from the body. Warmth on the skin. What else? Deep connection. Deep connection is a word, it's an abstraction. I want to find the expressions for this deep connection through either some metaphor from real world, some object relationship, or through some image in your mind that signifies that, or through some process, physical process. For example, kissing is like drinking, satisfying thirst. Very biological, very corporal thing. Maybe I'm starved of oxytocin. Maybe like oxytocin, you know about existence of oxytocin because of some scientist, you read about it. What are you starved of in the terms of worldly? As an animal, what are you starved of? What is that starvation? As an animal, as a sense, like your senses. What is that? Because oxytocin, you read it in the smart book. You don't know. As an animal, you don't know oxytocin. As an animal, you know jumping around, rejoicing, you know hugging, you know kissing, you know drinking, eating. I don't know how I would get that elsewhere. Think about it. What is the process analogous to that in life? What are those sensual experiences? When we think, like, let's extrapolate the kiss, what other sensual experiences are there attached to that? Deepen it. Increase intensity in your mind. Play with it. Let your mind right now throw very simple things. Forget about oxytocin, science, everything. As an animal, what do you want? Собака пришла. Do you mean what other activities activate the same senses? Something like that. Or you know how I gave this analogy, like I'm drinking, I'm kissing, I'm drinking, I'm satisfying thirst for something. I'm filling some vessel inside, as if, or I feel my body, I feel relaxation. That warmth, by the way, warmth of a woman, is it relaxing? Is it activating? No offense, I don't think. I want you to think again. You're bringing up warmth of a female body near you. What effect does it have on your body? You're always, I notice this, you're always journeying away from your body. When we bring it to the body, you're journeying out of it. I want to bring you back to the body. What is in the body? The warmth of a woman. What effect will it have on your physical body as an animal? What will this effect be? In simple terms. It's okay that we have some miscommunication perhaps. We're finding the way out. It's not meant to be easy. So, no worries about that. It's normal if you're frustrated. It's safe space, so. Perhaps behind this barrier of frustration we'll find the answers. Warmth with the physical or mental, doesn't matter, don't overthink it. What comes to mind? This warmth of the body near you. Does it activate you? Does it make you feel alive? Does it make you feel relaxed, soothed, calm? What is that? So, okay, so like the feeling cared for, feeling nurtured, feeling support, things, yes. What effects does it, like sensual effects, does it have on the body, that warmth? How does it translate in your state? Warmth makes me feel relaxed. Yes, it's relaxation. So we may want to have intimate contact with someone to feel relaxed. So our desire to connect with another body brings us home, makes us safe and relaxed, pampered, grounded. Sleepy, so restful. We can rest there. We can hug someone and we rest. Like in childhood, we hug a teddy bear and we fall asleep. Or we fall asleep on our mom's chest. It's safety, it's home, it's relaxation. I no longer need to have my shields up. I no longer need to have this defense. I no longer need to be stressed. The world takes care for me now. You're basically asking me how I can be satiated from food without eating it. No. It's not about that. There is an illusion sometimes that there are functions that you want to satisfy with the things that, yes, they can help with that, but you can satisfy them without being frustrated about not having them. You can, for example, you can allow yourself to not carry defenses 24/7 without hiding in woman's arms. You might not need to be in the full shelter to feel like yourself in the world. So there might be, yes, there is an intimacy element that is unique to intimacy. But if your baseline state is hungry for something because you're carrying excessive armor, when you're carrying excessive adaptations, excessive stress on a daily basis, you will end up bringing that to intimacy instead. Instead of feeling intimacy the way it will bring you most love. What I'm saying is that you may be able to reduce a lot of tension about intimacy, a lot of expectations about intimacy, reliance on this intimacy, such strong reliance on this need for intimacy, by removing the factors that make you crave it to a very strong point of frustration. That's my idea. It's not that I tell you that you need to ditch intimacy. No, no, no. I'm telling you to think about it, what you crave from intimacy, And that's the first step. What? Why do you crave it so strongly? That warmth, that soothing warmth, is it a unique scenario in which you can find relaxation? No. You can find different means to seek relaxation, such that pursuit of intimacy and being frustrated of not having it does not become your only source of relaxation. We can learn tools to relax without intimacy, and then when we go to intimacy, we already approach it from a relaxed perspective, mostly. Do you hear me, Chad? I'm not bringing you to delirium. I'm not telling you to remove all these things. I'm trying to help you to find things that create frustration of not having something. The sleepiness, relaxation, protected and happy, warmth, yes. I think what you're saying is if you can minimize the impact the lack has on you, the more likely you will be able to find the best version of the thing you're looking for. Bingo, yes, thank you for wording it this way. I relax without intimacy by drinking. You answered your question, Chad, right now. I remember my ex-girlfriend was sleeping on my body and I had to slow down breathing to help her sleep on me. But her body was like 120. Is it this Tantra? I eventually fell asleep. That's hard for me to explain. I like the body. You need to remember that not everyone can always tell you when you're kidding. So, Chad, yes, we're on to something here. We learned the function of the warmth that we seek from that body. Desperately needing comfort somewhere. This warm, safe, loving, accepting woman's body gives me the feeling of relaxation, home, safety, acceptance. The question is, are there other sources besides drinking and woman that can help you to feel regulated? Because relaxation can be you seek relaxation or you are doing what? Minimizing your tension, background tension. When you are frustrated with wanting to find a partner, paradox is that you are increasing your tension there. So you're moving away from relaxation. The empty void isn't being filled by drinking, it's being ignored. Okay, so we have empty void and we have tension. That's opposite of relaxation, the desire, pursuit of relaxation. The empty void. Empty void, what does it constitute? It's emotional void, it's emotional intensity, it's emotional what? What's in that? What should be in that void? And ignored. It's your void, so you can ignore or not ignore it. That's another thing. It's not just something external. You know, we're looking at something external. This will help me with relaxation. This habit, this woman will help me with relaxation. This thing will help me with the void. But there are things that we need to do ourselves, some hygiene, such that we can come to other person already with filled voids, such that we can engage in exchange as opposed to using them. You're using a drink to do something, you will be using a woman. In this notion, you will be using a woman. When the woman is being used, will there be love? No. Intimacy. What's behind this intimacy? What's intimacy? Intimacy, how do you describe that? You're intimate with someone. What is that? What do you do when you're intimate with someone? Shuriken. Bon appetit. I need to defrost my octopus too. Mutual affection and warmth. Okay. What other things come to mutual affection? How do you express mutual affection? What's in that mutual affection? I'm being so pedantic about it because that will help you write a to-do list. Not to-do list, but like menu list. When we describe it, it becomes clear. We start being very clear with our things because we realize that so many things are easily achievable suddenly when we write them down. So that's why we're going so in depth on that. Mutual affection and warmth. Mutual affection. Warmth is clear. Okay. Mutual affection. What do we do with mutual affection? A genuine interest in someone else's mind. One proposal. Which can be actually, I think, Jareth, genuine interest in someone else's mind could be ability to help each other, how I read it, specifically on the emotional plane. It's probably the means to establish emotional comfort and familiarity and stability. That's something that I could paint behind that statement, and genuine interest in someone else's mind. Because when we're in relationships, yeah, we can throw concepts around what you think is, how you think is universe and infinite, right? We can think about like how my partner thinks about the infinity of the universe. But it's rarely what people are seeking. We're rarely seeking knowledge of how our partner thinks about the infinity of the universe. We likely want to align with them on some things that we read as safety, that our partner is safe for us, that we created an environment that is predictable, trusting, and safe, such that I can relax in that environment. That's what oftentimes hides behind the pursuit of what's on your mind. Now, this might be one of the few things that you can't understand, but I don't mean that in a bitter way. No, let's go. You don't need to justify yourself. You can mean it in a bitter way. You can do whatever you want. It's a safe space. I want you to bypass this frustration and think about what does that what is that question? Mutual affection. What is that mutual affection? What do you do when you feel mutual affection? If I was to show you affection, what should I do? What would you expect from me to feel that I experience affection with you mutually? And don't worry about my feelings. What was the question? The question was how you feel that you feel mutual affection. What do you do? How you understand? Mutual affection, what is that? What does it constitute? Like, for example, right, it's the task right now. How can I behave? How can I express affection? Such that we're talking with Chad. How Chad will understand that I express affection. And again, don't worry about my feelings at all, Chad. We're solving a problem. We're not We're not. No one is at any fault. No one is at. It's we're solving a problem collectively right now. We're looking at the problem and solving it together. It's such a complex question to answer, though. First thing that comes to mind, maybe you want to be pet on your head. Maybe, I don't know, something. Or giving you space, like smiling at you softly. What would it be? The actions. How do you understand this mutual affection? And what does it give you when you feel mutual affection? Intimacy and speaking, you both reciprocate each other's needs and wants. It's too general. Everybody will have their own ways of needs and wants. Starting with an example, precise thing, would be a very good point, because then there will be something one, like a kiss. The kiss is different from, for example, having a passionate intercourse, right? So when a person describes that their connection should be a kiss primarily, we know that it's one plane of phenomena, one plane of needs. When the person wants some passionate lovemaking, we understand that it's totally different energies, it's totally different processes there. It can be a scene, Chad. You can envision a scene, like she's doing this, and like it can be a snippet, like from a movie, first person movie, like experience. She comes on you, and something she does or projects that makes you feel this mutual affection, the warmth. Do you perceive it as a space? Do you perceive it as something in your body? Do you perceive where are these feelings perceived? We can also think about that. If you were to like describe the scene, I want to be needed, and she cares about what I need, hugging, kissing, resting her head on me, and telling how she feels. Okay. Want to be needed, and she cares about what I need. When you're imagining all of those physical, affectionate things, again, does it feel like safe space? Does it feel like having meaning? Does it feel like being at rest? Does it feel like breathing softly, feeling comfortable, feeling blissful? Not gonna go into sexual, because it would be weird to say here. Okay, let's figure out not sexual things, because you presented that as the priority thing. We still have a lot to sort out there. And sexual relationships, there will be continuation of the emotional relationships, so their content will be. So now, Chad, with the hypothesis of that it's a relaxed, soft, comfortable, warm, restful, like home feeling, meaningful space of give and receive. Let's focus on these attributes and think, where else in life and how can we immerse in them right now? Because, Chad, I imagine you can actually immerse yourself And in this situation, and actually feel all that right now. You can actually close your eyes and imagine how she is laying in your arms, how you're caressing her, how you're holding her. There's something to hold on to, imagine. There's now a lot of light, there's now a lot of warmth. It's such a good place, it's such a good moment. It's total embodiment. You feel present, what you're just writing, you feel present. Her warmth makes you sense your body. The warmth is what we feel, it awakens the senses. The touch awakens the senses. Right now, if you're like just sitting, nothing agitates you. You might not feel anything if you don't have a habit of connecting with your body and giving that exact thing with your body. But right now, you can go and focus on all of that. And imagine that warmth. Imagine all of these feelings. That some flow of energy starts going. There is no destination. There is no then. There's no past. In that moment, what happens is that I'm holding that. I'm just present and full in my body. And existence of the other person right now just simply validates me, my existence. I exist. She's here, and suddenly I exist. My senses, the tongue, the mouth, that right now becomes the route for administration of things, that feel something inside, that give some stimulation. That thing now gets so many new stimuli, so soft and rewarding. Where past disappears, future disappears, present exists. What you're describing is this fully embodied, animalistic, very basic, primal, deep experience of presence, existence, unconditional existence. And you can induce it right now when you focus on this scene to understand how you can give it, how you can give a bit of it to yourself, how you can recreate this feeling of that unconditional presence enabled by that presence of the other body by your side, that other energy by your side. You can induce it and see how in life you can walk on outside with that feeling of that warmth, of that connection between the bodies, that safety, that home. When you are going and talking to people, carrying this sensation around, when you are caressing it, when your full existence is awakened, you bring it to the world, you come with it to the world. You yourself enable that. Then what happens is that when you bring it to the world without such a strong level of hunger, when you saturate yourself with that, when you learn to connect with it at every point, you become the giver, the woman comes. The good woman. Not the woman who wants to be a function, the woman who wants to swim in that sea. Again, this is something you can't understand. You're underestimating perhaps my experiences. You're underestimating the universality of human experience. So, it's, yeah, like sunshine. Yes, it's like sunshine when you're sunbathing. Sun makes you so blissful. Sun makes you so comfortable when you're laying somewhere on the ground. You feel so good, you don't think about anything. You're just sunbathing. Sunbathing becomes self-sufficient activity, just like hugging someone. Just like feeling intimate with someone. When you were a child, you had toys. Your toys were alive. You probably had a little teddy bear who you thought had its own personality, who had its life, who was the best thing on the planet. Your teddy bear had soul. Your teddy bear had made you seen. Your teddy bear understood you. Your teddy bear was someone that you could hold close to you and feel fully comforted. This was your teddy bear. For everybody else, that teddy bear was a piece of polyester. For you, this teddy bear was existence. That was giving you sense of existence. You were seen by that teddy bear in exact light that you wanted to be seen. Hugging that teddy bear, you felt comforted. Well, you are not a man who's been alone for 11 years. These are concepts. These are concepts. That doesn't negate human experience. You are returning back again. I want to bring you to your body. You are trying to journey out of your body. You're journeying out of the body into the world of concepts. I want you to go back to your body and envision that. Because what you want to so strongly, you want to saturate using a woman, you can largely satisfy by yourself, by understanding where it is in you. And then when you bring it to the world, overall your level of tension will be much lower. Your level of pleasure will be increasing. When your level of pleasure is increasing, the world reciprocates. You create a ripple effect when you bring pleasure energy into the world. The pleasure energy, which actually what we started with, what you bring to the world will come into resonance with others. They will reflect that. You will start getting the feedback from the world on how it is cool and pleasurable. You will start getting dopamine for that new behavior. And then you will find a woman from that standpoint, being capable of cultivating that. Who knows which other things you will discover. There's nothing I can do by myself that emulates that. Are you sure? Or have you tried? Have you tried doing what I just suggested? When you close your eyes and you imagine exactly that, you can even take a pillow if you want, or you can just don't even take a pillow. I don't want to deal with any material objects. And imagine that. Because I was sitting here imagining all of that. My human experience allowed me to take that woman. I've never been close with a woman. I never was intimate with a woman. But I had the woman, beautiful woman, laying in my arms that I was caressing. I had a woman, very beautiful woman that I was holding in my arms and feeling all of that. Can we try that, Chad? Bye-bye, Hippocrates. Something interesting I missed out on apparently. Don't be sorry. It's a flow. I understand that you're kind of in somewhat of public eye right now, but it's oh my god, it's 9 already. You are talking about concepts. You are in the past right now. I want you to be in the present, and the present is where your body is found, Chad. If you're tired today, if you're already exhausted, I can let you go at this point, and you can think about it in your own pace. But the goal is to not go to 11 years, to your age. It's all concepts. Your body exists irrespective of 11 years. Your body exists irrespective of your 32. Your body exists irrespective of girlfriends that you had. And right now, I want you to go to your body and feel that presence. Everyone in the chat, try that and see if it's possible or not. I'm curious. Maybe I'm not. And also, I will be going in probably a couple of minutes. So we'll actually have to wrap up here. Chad, thank you so much for your feedback and thank you for sharing everything that you were talking about. And don't worry about, again, I want to reiterate that. Don't worry about appearing like rude or something. Don't worry about that. Right now, we are both observing something. We're both at the whiteboard. We're both looking at something together. So there is some, let's say, dysfunction sitting. There's functional you. There's me. And there's some dysfunction. And we're trying to see that dysfunction. We're trying to find dysfunction. We're just in some labyrinth. So don't worry about that. A lightning storm is what is felt. Can be overwhelming feelings actually. So it's actually, yeah, it gets my heart like overflowing a little bit when I imagine that. Perhaps the closest experience to what that is also 11 years ago as well. I had a friend and we were just very close friends for some period of time. And probably like just sitting with her on the couch, just goofing around or doing something, was close to that experience. Hello, Cosette. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you? Appreciate you caring about me. Answering, I guess? Thank you, Chad. So we're going to wrap up here. I really want you to, after this stream, Chad, I really want you to try actually do this. Try imagining that. Caress it. Feel that overflowing feeling. Because no matter actually whether you're with someone or not, with someone you will feel only the physical component of that. But everything that you feel, you will feel inside of you. That's the paradox that you need to acknowledge, that all feelings that you're feeling will be from inside of you. That's why these practices are so powerful. The extra stimulation from the body will add stimulation to your senses a little bit. It will just add to your senses, to your experiences. But everything you are feeling will always be coming from within you. It's always in you. It always lives inside of you. So that's why I want you to try this practice alone, perhaps, when you're in secure space, when there is like no stuff that perhaps from my end triggers your some defenses. Maybe outside of those defenses, is where you will be more comfortable trying that. Really give it a try. That may be a very powerful tool for you. In some safe, comfortable space, even if it's goofy. Stop teaching them this, please. Why, MP5? I'm a Tantra coach, Tantra therapist. What else should I teach? I'm teaching the methods that do work. I watched your cooking video in your shorts video section. You did good grilling. I did. Really enjoyed this stream. Really loved learning practice applied in action. Thank you. Yeah, that's really cool. It's really interesting for me too. Love how awesome this community is. It is. I'm not going to say why, but okay, sure, MP5. If you're not going to say why, then the conversation ends here. Bye-bye. So, Chad, I'll see you next time. If you want to share, always welcome to send me an email if you want to share your findings, if you are willing to try those things. If not, totally okay. Maybe something else will work for you. But just give it a thought, perhaps. Love the knowledge. Thanks. Get it done. Thank you. So everyone, I'll be signing off. And bye-bye, guys. Tim, I meant to say appreciate you caring about me and trying to help. There was water on my screen and pressed enter by accident. Sure. You're welcome, Chad. Game time. No. Signing off already. Yes, I am signing off. I didn't notice it was already 9:30. It's quite late, but we started later a little bit today. So yeah, it's been 3 hours 40 minutes tonight. Good night, Chad. Yes, Kiva. Time to close, and I'm going to close the stream. Bye bye, guys.